All right,
Yeah,
yours is there.
away from the table and then the camera.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I
love
love
it so
support
much.
help.
Can you tilt your camera down a little bit? It's a little high, it's a little hard to see you.
Who is it?
I'm not sure.
Somebody from Louisiana.
Oh, that might be, is that Carol?
Hi,
Carol Turner here.
We can see you.
Got a live cam.
Wonderful this morning.
It's early for you, we're sorry. Carol, can you point your camera down a little
I
bit?
see you guys.
Can you point your camera down a little bit? It's a little harder to see.
No.
Little low might be intentional.
I'm gonna remember that.
She's what, 6 in the morning?
No, 7.
It's an hour behind. An hour behind. What time is it here?
Who's not here? Charles?
And it's 8 o'clock there.
Was it Robert? Robert's flying in, or should be flying, and Ken Fells, and Ken.
You think Carol brings
And
around.
Brad. Well, did Ken Fells show at the hotel?
Ken Phelps did not show up in the hotel yet. And so his flight was coming in sometime today, and Robert Murphy should have just landed. Tony Lee, I tried to reach him last night. I did talk to his wife. He was in Chicago last night, so I got to figure out who's coming in this morning.
Okay. I would suggest we go ahead and not hold them up and get this started then, because you people on the line, some are on there.
Can we just,
We can go back later and bring
do
the
the
whole
oath.
people in.
you want to do the oath later? You want to wait for about 15 minutes till Robert Murphy gets here?
Just go ahead and do it, we can do it with him later, but people are actually trying to catch to the work and got her up, so.
Carol retired. Mother, I can ad lib. Gonna start the meeting and do a welcome. All right, so who's on the line? Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning, Pam.
Good morning, good morning. Who's on the line? Who's here? Let's do a roll call.
Carol Henry.
Carol, all right. Yes, Carol Turner Henry.
Yes.
Dave McCowell.
Good morning,
Al
Dave.
Jeffy Price. Al Tony Gilmore.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I have Carol Turner Henry, Jean McCullen, L. Tony Gilmore, Michael Grice. Anyone else online? All right, let's take roll here, starting with
William Douthit.
Shania Okamore.
Pamela Powell,
Diana Daniels.
Nicole Walters.
Wayne Monroe Galloway.
Harry Lawson.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that the people who are on this morning, yesterday, I guess it was yesterday, Thursday, I just want to bring you up on some things. Thursday, we had a great time in this magnificent, beautiful office here. Diana and her staff has done a lovely job in that office. I'm so glad that I had an opportunity to come here and spend all day with her. Yesterday, we worked on the convention all day and are moving quite expeditiously in getting the brochure done. We spent a lot of time, and Diana may talk to you about this later on. We spent a lot of time with Mr. Ryan, our accountant, with regards to our 5-year convention history, looking at how we have done over the past 5 years. I will say to you, and again, either Diana or Charles will go over this with you later, that during the past 5 years, we have had a convention revenue of $1.1 million, with our highest income coming in in 2010, our first year that we were in Las Vegas, and our second highest in 2015, last year when we were here in Indianapolis. And so we spent a lot of time doing that, and then we set some goals for the organization, 3-year goals, and next year's last year we made $202,969 off of the, I'm sorry, $227,486 off of the from the convention. And so the team that was here yesterday set a goal at $300,000 in revenue for us at this year's conference in Baltimore. We believe we can do it. We are in the process of identifying some sponsors and looking at things in a different way. And so I'm very pleased with what's going on with regards to our work that we're going to be doing and our goals that we're going to be doing with regards to that. So with that, do you have any questions before we begin? Well, let me welcome.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
This is Bryce. I had one question. What percentage of that is registration and what percentage is sponsors?
On which year?
No, I'm just saying in general. The majority of our revenue from sponsors, from registrations, or any one
No,
source, or is it all the sources?
no, it has never been the majority of our revenue has come from sponsors, and that's the work that we have to do this coming year. The majority of that, Michael, has come from registration. Give you an example of the goals that we're setting for ourselves. We came in at 14,000. Yesterday, we have sponsors at $50,000 this year. So with everyone participating in raising those funds, and we do have some ideas out there. Our newest board member to be Nicole Waters, who, as you helps Eric and contact last night with a sponsor who has agreed to give us some money. So I'm anxious to hear and how much we can get from that. But we're just going to have to work a little bit harder with our sponsors. And the ultimate goal for the executive team is that in the next few years, we're up to raising about $100,000 in sponsorship. You like that?
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions before we begin? So let me officially call this meeting to order and begin the process. Michael, since I have you on the phone, and since you have always been the person that I've been around that has brought a positive word, do you have anything a prayer or some positive words that you'd like to bring forward at this time?
Well, thank you. As we have had people leave this planet and as you encounter families and loved ones who suffer that grief, there's a little poem that is so encouraging and it's been a big help to folks. I'll share it, then I'll share it online, and it goes like this. Suppose that the stars in the sky are not stars after all, but are holes poked in the canopy of heaven, so that the light of our dearly departed can shine down on us and light our pathway and encourage us and remind us how much they love us and how happy they are to be in the arms of God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike.
Very good, Mike.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. So with that, there are people here that may not know everybody that's here because we have new board members. And so I'm going to start with Attorney Dowhead, and let's go around the room and introduce ourselves to our new board members.
Certainly. I'm Bill Douthit from St. Louis, Missouri. By training, I am an attorney at law. By avocation, I'm a parent advocate. I've been a member of Ncebc since 2009 and have been on the board for, this is my second year.
Good morning. I'm Chennai Okamore and I live outside of Chicago. By training, I'm a mathematician actually, an actuary, but I've been in education for the last 30 years. 10 of those in the schools and 20 in the private sector, in corporate sector actually. Been on the board for 2 years now, 3 years, and been a member of Ncebc. I really cannot remember when. It's a long time ago. It's at least 10 years. And I'm really glad to be here, getting to see some faces virtually and in person.
Well, good morning. I'm Pamela Short-Powell. Spent 40 years plus in education. I'm a retired superintendent. I hail from Pasadena, California, but was raised in the Midwest in a small town outside of Chicago, Evanston, Illinois, home of Northwestern University.
Good morning. I have been involved with Ncebc since 1990. I attended my first Hunt Valley conference in '89 and came back in '90 and got deeply involved. Those were some wonderful days in Hunt Valley where I met Gene McCullum and Michael Bryce and Faustine Jones-Wilson and Al Tony and so many other wonderful people that have stayed with this organization. As you think about it, we're coming up on our 30th year, 2016. And many of us have certainly changed in our appearance with gray hair and some a little larger, some a little smaller. But I just want to say it's a fantastic board to have served on for the last, to be a part of this board for the last 20 some odd years. And I'm very pleased to be with the organization. Great ideals, great values, great people that certainly exemplify the kind of mission that we should all be on. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Nicole Walters. I'm an associate dean and assistant professor at University of St. Thomas, which is a private liberal arts Catholic university in Houston, Texas. I live in Sugar Land. And so I'm a former school principal. I've been an educator for going on my 20th year. And I'm just honored to be the host for our Ncebc Blog Talk Radio, which is a lot of fun. I got the pleasure of meeting Diana and many of the folks sitting in this room as Eric's co-host, and really looking forward to utilizing my resources to bring in additional funding and additional human capital to support the mission of the organization. So I'm just really thrilled to be here from Texas.
Good morning, I'm Monroe Galloway, and my training is I'm an attorney, a mediator, and at one point I taught professional ethics. I have come to know this organization through Lola Crawford, and she shared with me the wonderful things that are being done and that the group wants to do. And I am excited, and honored, and humbled to be a part of the mission. Those essential that we do all that we can to make certain that our young people can become responsible individuals in this global society. And this organization can certainly.
Can you get a little closer to the microphone, please?
This organization can certainly have a major role in accomplishing that.
I'm Harry Lawson with the National Education Association out of Washington, D.C. By training, I'm actually a social worker. I'm a former classroom teacher, former low-income housing advocate, organizer for the union. My current role, I'm the Associate Director of the Human and Civil Rights Department.
I was introduced to the organization through Al Tony Gilmore, who's also was a former employee of the NEA and the board. And what we've discussed is how to continue and kind of raise the profile of our partnership. And so I'm really excited. I'm honored to be a part of this discussion. I think being at the union, too often we talk about what we can do. And so to have an opportunity to work directly with an organization and serve an organization that is actually focused on helping young Black children provide some energy and some juice. And so for me, I think also for some of the colleagues I have in my department. So I'm just really excited about the opportunity to see how we can be a valuable partner to the organization, to support the work that goes on, and maybe even explore how we can work with some of you outside of the organization.
Can you get a little closer to the microphone, Harry?
Outside of the organization in your locals. So I appreciate the opportunity to serve and look forward to the rest of the induction meeting. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning. My name is Charles Coleman. I currently serve as the superintendent of Joliet School District 86, which is considered to be one of the south suburban districts outside of the Chicagoland area. I've been a superintendent. This will mark come January 20 years, and will be the final year. I consider it an honor and a privilege to serve as a treasurer of Ncebc. Look forward to all the energy and the ideas that you bring, particularly as it pertains to financial resources. So it's an exciting time. Welcome to all, and we're going to have a great and very productive day. So that's me in a short and brief manner.
Thank you. Carol, can you give us just a welcome, waving at you? Do you mind just giving us just a little brief synopsis? You'll be formally introduced later on, but just so that everyone knows who you are.
Good morning. I am Carol Davis Turner Henry, and I'm excited about becoming a member of the board. I'm a retired educator in the Jefferson Parish school system. I was introduced to the organization by Jean McCallum, and I worked with the organization when they held the 2 conferences in New Orleans. I'm excited and humbled to be a part of the organization and to share whatever I can bring to make our mission and goals a success. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of names, Carol.
Carol is finished our introduction.
Yeah. Just for you.
You know, I just got married 2 years ago, so I have these names.
I was going to tell everybody that you just got married a few years ago. So, yeah. So let's do this really quickly, so we know who's on the phone. And Jean, why don't you start with you, and then we'll go to is Lola on the phone? Okay, so Jean, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Gene McCallum, founding board member. Started with this organization when it was infinite years, and it's the West Coast, the East Coast planning. Retired administrator of Los Angeles Fire School District, and I'm glad to from there, living in New Orleans, and I feel so good as a founding board member. The enthusiasm, the commitment made by our new board members and also our founding board members and our officers. I'm looking forward to working another year with you, and I have all the confidence in the world of the people we have brought on as new board members.
Thank you. Al Tony?
Yes, my name is Al Tony Gilmore. I too am a founding member of Ncebc. I serve as historian and archivist emeritus of the National Education Association. I'm also a visiting scholar at the George Washington University. I have been delighted to be a part of this magnificent organization and to have served and worked with so many outstanding people. And I feel that I have to say that under the leadership of Deanna Daniels, who I think has been our life support system, we should look forward to working together and accomplishing even greater things.
Thank you. Michael?
Good morning. Michael Chappie Grice, Portland, Oregon, founding board member. I just wanted to say, chime in how much I appreciate our leadership and our existing board members who have weathered the years. And I especially want to give a shout out to our office staff, the people behind the scenes that help with the Blog Talk Radio and make sure that our conference works really smoothly. Nicole and all the others that help us. I'm here in Portland, Oregon, and we finished implementing the blueprint in San Francisco a few years ago, and that research is available. I want to also salute the National Education Association. I talked to Dr. Denise Alston, a former board member, a couple days ago about a guide called the Care Guide. Culture, and it's very helpful to our schools as we are working with African American males and working particularly in school improvement and teacher development. So thank you all. Our new board members, very encouraging. That's all I'm proud.
Okay, thank you. Those of you that are on your phones, if you don't mind putting your phones on mute, if you can do that, that would help. We're hearing some background. Did I everyone that's on the conference call, did you say something? Okay, great. Okay, so with that, I wanted to go ahead on and get into the ceremony. I was actually trying to wait for Robert Murphy, who was 3 minutes away in the cab. Yeah, so I wanted to do that. But I do want to thank our tech person for coming in and working with us. This is amazing. I was saying to Mrs. Daniels last night, now all we need to do now, Jean, is to have training for all of the board members at some point, so we all know how to do what Carol Turner did without any training. So I will tell you, I know I will need some help. So, and so it's good to have young people around because they know how to do this.
Yep.
Okay, so what I wanted to do was to get right into the ceremony. I'm just really trying to stall time for Robert, who's on his way. But let me say that we are so excited about our new board members being on board because you come from a cross range of background, education, attorneys, working with the unions, all which we will need some help moving this forward. There are actually 8 new board members. 8 new board members. 4 or 5 of you will be joining us at some time today. And so this is the first time in a long time, I think, that we ever had 8 come on at one time?
No, not to my knowledge.
So I promise you will be busy. You will be coming in with a cohort of people who have various backgrounds and who span from Canada all the way to Texas, to DC. So it's a good all the way from, I should say, California, with a variety of backgrounds. Last night, someone said to me, everybody's in education. I think that was Monroe, but Monroe, everybody is not in education. And so we are pleased that we have a variety of people on this board. because it lends itself to reaching and touching out and hearing things from a different perspective. So if you're only around popsicles, you never get to understand what it is to taste a drumstick. So we're very, yeah. So we're very, very pleased. Never heard that before.
But I'll take that drumstick.
Ice cream drumstick. Ice cream drumstick. Ice cream drumstick.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I'll say too.
So with that, I wanted to definitely, again, welcome our new board members and also our current board members. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time. And I hope that those of you that are on the phone, and Carol, you'll be able to stay with us for throughout the day or as much as you possibly can. So I take pleasure in presenting the National Council on Educating Black Children the following persons for sustaining membership. All of these candidates have met the requirements for membership, and each candidate is eligible for induction. I am glad you received the petition for this group for sustaining membership on the National Council of Educating Black Children Board of Directors. So with that, I'd like now for the sponsors, and we'll start with Eugene to introduce your people introduce Carol that you're bringing on board.
Okay, thank you, Pam, very much. Pam, I also want to make sure that people understand this. I served on the nominating committee, and we made sure that the new board members represented all the stakeholder groups, not just educators, business people, as you can attest to. And extremely, so I want to introduce to you to some, and present to some and introduce to others, Dr. Carol Turner-Henry. Carol has been with us about 7 or 8 years. Carol is a retired district administrator from the Jefferson Parish. She works with NAPSI. She brings that on with NAPSI. And the reason she was selected, and every person that's on this board, new board member selected, because of their strong strength and the field in which they represent. Not just education, but the all field that they represent. Carol represents the administrative stakeholder group. She is selected because of her extremely high organization skills. If you were in New Orleans at the conference in 2008 and 2011, we had a home. And all the leadership and the cooperation of Dr. Carol Turner-Henry. Carol has become a friend. When I first met her, I didn't know anybody in Florida. I just retired and moved here. Carol made me feel like I've been here all my life. I appreciate that. You are looking at it, you are inducted into this board. It's strong, but knows what to do and account for plans. So tonight he can help you. I introduce Dr. Carol Turner-Henry. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. El Tony, would you introduce your Lawrence?
Thank you so much. I'll also try to exercise the kind of expression, though by no means do I think that will capture the full expression that I have for Harry Lawson. Harry Lawson is the Associate Director of the Human and Civil Rights Division of the National Education Association. He's also served in several other important executive level positions with NEA. Prior to being the Associate Director for NEA, Human and Civil Rights Division, he served as Regional Director for NEA's operations in the Southeastern United States. He comes with the full support and confidence of NEA and its Executive Director, John Stocks, and its President, Lily Eskelson Garcia. Harry is not only a good friend, he is a graduate of the Capstone, Howard University, with a bachelor's degree in history, interestingly enough, and a master's degree in its esteemed social work program. He has a strong advocacy background with low-income families. He is an extraordinary organizer. He is at the center of public policy discussions on human and civil rights issues. Public education. Council on Educating Black Children is indeed fortunate to have such an accomplished advocate for public education on its board. And I am pleased that we are continuing the relationship between Ncebc and NEA, the nation's largest labor union. So, Harry, I'm so pleased that you have agreed to participate. I trust this will be a rewarding and profitable experience, and I encourage you all the ways that we can. Harry Lawson, thank you.
Thank you so much. We just had a new board member come in, so we're kind of shuffling things around. We're just gonna, just give me 1 second. Good morning.
Good morning.
We were just joined by Robert Murphy, who is with the State Department of Education in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm sorry, he corrected me already. And he just got off a plane, so we're going to give him a chance to settle in. But while he is settling in, I'd like to introduce Dr. Nicole Manziel-Walters, who is on our talk radio blog show with the infamous rapidly talking giver of the heart, Dr. Eric Cooper. So let me introduce Dr. Nicole Manziel-Walters. She's a skilled educator with 19 years of professional educational experiences, holding teaching, administrative consulting, and instructional design positions in schools and nonprofit organizations. Her public school career spans 10 years as an early childhood educator, elementary teacher, and administrator in the Aldine Independent School District. She currently serves as the Associate Dean of Graduate Programs at the University of St. Thomas in the School of Education and is an Assistant Professor of Educational Leadership. She is responsible for academic leadership and coordination of all graduate academic programs, including strategic planning, resource allocation, implementation, evaluation, continuous improvement, and academic advising of students. Dr. Walters, as I have indicated, can be heard each Monday. I think that's going to begin in October, I'm not sure, at 9:00 a.m. on our radio talk host program, as I mentioned, with Dr. Cooper. She is presently serving on so many boards and that I cannot begin to name all of them. But she not only serves on profit boards, she serves on nonprofit advisory councils, including Texas Southern University College of Education Advisory Board, the Baylor Partnership Board, and the Board of Trustees of her alma mater. She is an AKA, ladies, now she and Diana are giving each other looks. She is an AKA, and I began talking to her about her work with the Junior League of Houston, because I served on the Junior League in California, so we have a fondness for that organization. She is a child advocate. She resides in Texas, in Sugar Land, Texas. She is a brand new mommy, and she shared those beautiful pictures with us last night when we were meeting. And I would say that she has a dog, so I'm glad that you now have a baby to help you with that dog. So welcome aboard, Nicole. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. So Robert Murphy just came in, and I hate to do this to you, but you've already corrected me. I like that. So he is, as I said, with the State Department of Education for Maryland.
Yeah.
And I know that Lola and brought both Robert Murphy and also Monroe in. And so, Robert, we've already introduced ourselves to each other. We have 4 founding board members on the line, okay, and a new board member that's streaming in. So if you can just give us a little synopsis about who you are, and we appreciate it.
Wow. Okay. I am what am I now? probably a 20-year educator. Started off in special needs schools. That is primarily where my background is. Special need students. Was a teacher in an alternative school, taught at a juvenile justice facility. Also was assistant principal at an alternative school. Then I left there and went to the state. Most recent work with the state has really been around dropouts and school completion, alternative programs, as well as I led the discipline reform in our state, and have been on a number of panels and webinars and all that jazz around school discipline. Most recently, I did something with the American Public Health Association on racism in education. That webinar is actually still available if someone would like to see it. I'm at APHA's website. That's kind of my career, I guess, kind of background. Married, daughter at junior at Spelman College in Atlanta. What's that?
You're almost free.
Oh yeah, almost free. Let's be very clear. Spelman is like my fourth child. Only one child. Like I said, she's a junior at Spelman. We are very tight, and just glad to be here.
Thank you so very much, and thank you for getting here so quickly after your, having the plane canceled last night. And let me tell you that we talked about you last night, and so we have work for you to do. You just don't know.
That's how it always is. The person who's last getting always gets more.
Nothing's changed. So it is just my pleasure to receive all of you to come on board. And right now, what I'd like to do is have Bill read a little bit of the history of the organization.
In the late 1960s and early 1970s, education in the United States focused on the disadvantaged, and everyone worried about why Johnny could not read. From this framework, the idea emerged that urban Black and poor children could not learn and that their schools were in shambles. However, the late Dr. Ron Edmonds, then professor of education at Harvard University, found in his urban school visitations that some schools were effectively educating Black and poor children. During these visits, he ascertained that these successful schools shared certain similar characteristics. These characteristics became a set of 5 correlates that Dr. Edmonds believed to be necessary for a school to effectively educate African American students. He insisted that these characteristics or principles of successful schools should be adopted and implemented by staff in schools at all grade levels. Dr. Edmonds' 5 correlates require schools to implement the following strategies. 1, have a principal who is a strong instructional leader. 2, provide a safe, community-like climate conducive for learning. 3, be staffed with professionals who have high expectations for all students. 4, provide a curriculum that relates to the experiences of the learners. And 5, maintain consistent evaluation with remediation for mastery of content. The National Council on Educating Black Children, NCEBC, was founded based upon the research pioneered by the late Dr. Ron Edmonds. NCEBC is in its 29th year, founded by U.S. Congressman Augustus F. Hawkins, Democrat of California, author of the Title I law, and in 1986, chairman of the United States House of Representatives Education, Health, and Welfare Committee. Dr. Faustine Jones Wilson from the East Coast, and Dr. Owen Knox from the West Coast. Along with 42 other nationally recognized Black educators, they developed the NCEBC Blueprint for Action. The blueprint shows grassroots stakeholders concerned with educating all children how to empower, work with to assist school districts to deliver measurable, positive results for Black youth, especially males, who historically have been at greatest risk and who currently are disproportionately represented in data on dropouts, incarcerations, premature deaths, early pregnancies, welfare, special education, drug usage, and youth becoming involved with the juvenile justice system. The Blueprint for Action embraces Edmund's concept that all children can learn and provides a framework for collaborative community partnerships with public school districts to solve problems and accelerate achievement for all children, Black children in particular. This flagship document has been adopted by many urban school districts.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bill. Diana is going to read and talk to us about symbolism.
Good morning. What is the symbolism of the name, the National Council on Educating Black Children? It is very appropriate that we anchor this occasion, the induction of new members into the National Council on Educating Black Children, in the name of the greatest educator who was born in a stable somewhere in an obscure village in Northern Africa, never traveled more than 200 miles from his place of birth, never won an election, never went to college, never owned his own home, never had very much money. But this man from Northern Africa became a nomadic teacher. He became an educator, teaching to all that would listen, telling about his father's deeds. Popular opinion turned against him. His friends, close friends, betrayed him. Those that would call him a friend and associate abandoned him. Standing unjustly accused, condemned to death, crucified on a cross, with two thieves overlooking a town dump. And when he died, he was laid in a borrowed grave. But this teacher gave us the divine word so that we could be a blessing to the next generation. The importance of teaching is further linked to teaching being spiritual and cultural. In the book, The Reawakening of the African Mind by my mentor, Dr. Asa Hilliard III, Dr. Hilliard tells us about the teachings of Ptahhotep. He's the oldest, is the oldest text in human history by an ancient scribe who lived around 2400 BC. The 37 short teachings is a part of a genre long, long gone. For in this book, the ancient scribe asked God for permission to teach. Therefore, education is a spiritual task, divinely sanctioned. The teacher teaches using the ancestral ways, which makes teaching cultural. Educating students of color is both spiritual and cultural. It takes a divine person to connect culture to learning. They must believe that students from lower socio-economic backgrounds, living in single female heads of households, attending schools situated in neighborhoods characterized by high crime and violence, are capable of high achievement and excellence, as we talked about earlier with Ron Edmonds. Ncebc is based on such values as faith, creativity, honesty, courage, work, family, respect, loyalty, and of course, survival humor. Understanding the symbolism of the name, the National Council on Educating Black Children, we welcome you to our board.
Thank you, Diana. And so now it's time for your pledge. And so we're going to ask all of the new board members to stand, and Shania will take you through the pledge.
It's the biggest part, where you commit and you can't get out. Having become acquainted with the meaning of the National Council on Educating Black Children, are you willing to take the pledge of membership? If so, answer, I am, as I call your name individually. Okay. Harry Lawson?
I am.
Harold Tony Lee. Not yet. Nicole Walters,
I am.
Monroe Galloway,
I am.
Robert Murphy,
I am.
Carol Turner. Carol, you've been so faithful on that phone.
It's probably on mute.
I am.
Wonderful. We want you. Ken Bell? No problem. Ken and Loretta are not here. So we will work with them. We'll do it by phone. But we want to welcome you to the National Council of Ncebc. From now on, I need you to repeat after me together. I do hereby pledge myself
I do hereby pledge myself
to service in educating Black children
to service and educating Black children
throughout my lifetime,
throughout my lifetime,
in whatever capacity I might find,
in whatever capacity I might find,
to support children of color,
to support children of color,
the mission, the vision of NCEBC
of NCEBC
for the service of humanity.
For
the service of humanity.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Board member.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As president of the National Council on Educating Black Children, I welcome you into membership of this great, fabulous organization with all the rights and privileges which each membership entails you. I hope that your years in this organization will bring you much pleasure and happiness. You heard in your pledge, it said lifetime.
Yeah.
So it is a lifetime commitment that you have just pledged to devote yourself on behalf of our young people, our children. So welcome and congratulations. We look forward to working with you. We have already assigned you to some committee work. And before you leave here today and tomorrow, you will find out which committees that you're working on and who you'll be working on. Some of you are working on several committees. And so it's just how we do things here at NCEBC. So welcome aboard. We look so forward into working with you. I don't know if the board members on the phone want to extend welcomes, but certainly this is the time if you would like to do that. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you. And I would also like to say to Nicole that you are my sorrow.
All right. You're going to get me put out because I'm sitting next to Miss Diane here.
My daughter lives right outside of Sugar Land.
Oh.
And she works in Fort Bend.
That's where I live. I need to look her up.
And she will be completing her doctorate this year. And she's a Delta.
Oh, I'll keep her anyway.
There is a time.
Thank you so much for the welcome. I look forward to working with the organization in whatever capacity I'm assigned.
Thank you, Carol. Any of the board members on the phone, El Tony or Jean or Mike, did you want to say anything before we continue our meeting?
Yeah, I would like to say this is Michael Chappie Grice. I just want to say welcome and thank you for joining us, helping us extend the legacy of Gus Hawkins. I really want to commend Bill and Diana's remarks and ask that it sounds as if those were prepared remarks, and ask if those could be sent to us by way of email. I think everyone should introduce those to their friends and colleagues in education and even support this education so that they get to see and even support our conference and our organization. And so thanks again, and welcome all of your new board members.
Thank you. Jean,
I want to thank everyone for joining us. I look forward to working with you. I'm a lifetime member of this organization. I put my life into it as a founding board member and will continue to work on behalf of African American children. That's my commitment. It is my Christian right to do this. And I love African American children more than any other child on the street.
Really big, brother.
Okay.
I hope you bring that commitment. It's in my heart, it's in my soul to do for African American children. And look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Jean. Tony, are you still there? Okay, I thought I heard him ding. We're going to, you don't have to stay on the phone unless you want to. Carol, you probably need to stay as long as you can. But for our founding members, we are getting ready to go into a different aspect of the meeting where we're going to be working with them, our new members on the bylaws, the blueprint, the Black Male Action Plan, and bringing them up to date on the work and programs that we have. So you're welcome to stay on, but we're asking that you come back on at 1 o'clock when we're going through the board development training. If you can.
I have to move to another location, but I'm going to come back on.
Okay, no problem. All right. Thank you so much. All right, thank you. All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pam.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Come on, Al.
Yeah, I got it.
You want to, Pam, you want to do it all?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's take about 5 minutes break. And, wait a minute. Can we have just 1 minute?
So I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Alvin, and my name is Rasul. And this is
Holland Fair. I'm with the organization that has these wonderful young people, present them with opportunities to grow and technical skills and administrative skills. We call it mentoring, critical thinking, and leadership.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about KI? Just overview of what it is and what you're doing there.
As I said, it's youth initiatives as with your organization. And when we got started 12 years ago, we said, what is the focus of our mission? And we thought, will it be pregnant young women? Will it be children in low-income families? And we said to ourselves so quickly, African-American males. So that has always been, because we feel if we look at programs for African-American males, it will help any child who comes to our front door and says, can I come in? So as you can see with Alvin, he's not an African-American, but he is so a part of our organization. So we are, all of our young people are self-selected. They come in through programs that they feel will help them grow. And while we are hanging but we are, you must be working on what are you doing to improve yourself? Self-mastery is always the goal for every program. That's how the programs get picked. Is it about self-mastery? Self-mastery gives empowerment. Our tagline is community empowerment through self-mastery. So we work with the platform of the social enterprise to help us, the managers, just the older people in the group. The platform of the social enterprise, which this is. This is KI New Media. These young men work on KI New Media. They go out and get clients to make websites and graphic arts. But with the platform of the social media, we can say, where do you market it? Are your customers happy? And so that guides us and helps them get to self-mastery. Self-mastery is about empowerment. So while it looks like we have a lot of programs sometimes, it's about the individual, and it's always about self-mastery and empowerment. Thank you.
Paula and I were part of the HG Hilliard study group for, what, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And you said self-mastery, that was Ace all the way.
Wow.
His philosophy. So, Alvin is from California originally.
I was from Indianapolis.
Pomona.
Yeah, I went to Pomona College in California, graduated from there in 2010. Moved back here and started getting involved in work here with KI and KI Media. So we're we do, like Ms. Fair, we do websites, graphic design, videos, live streams, technology-related things. And we have people who've been trained professionally in those fields, as well as interns who learn those skills. So interns who are Rasul's age, 18 or younger. Rasul, you want to talk a little bit about what you've done with coding and teaching and mentoring?
I've been teaching some coding classes for the last few years now. I first started at Carpe Diem, which is a charter school located on Meridian. I taught some extracurricular program classes to them for a couple of months. I also taught some seniors about mobile app development. And this kind of October, I'm planning to teach to both seniors and young people about mobile app development for a course of 8 weeks. And yeah, I've been teaching. I taught mobile app development class, and of course, this summer with Alvin here for a summer camp, for a STEM summer boot camp we hosted last summer. And yeah, that's what I usually do.
That's a lot for 18. Well, KI has been, I guess I should say, K Media has been supporting us the last couple of weeks. And they will be putting an intern in our office to work with us on our blog talk show. And they'll be helping us e-blasting. And they're good people, just good people to work with. So we're happy with that, very happy. So we'll take a break for 5 minutes and we'll come right back and get started on new board training. And Alvin's gonna leave, right? And come back at 1?
Yeah, we'll have
no, everybody's coming at 1. The big man's coming at 1. The head's coming at 1. Okay, great.
Yes,
great.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was special to meet you.
Yeah.
No, you can't leave yet. We still got.
We're gonna take a break.
Okay, I'm gonna do a break. Now somebody click in. Is that okay, Alvin? If they just clicked in and watched, is that all right?
Oh, for the live stream?
For this next part here,
Are they able to still be on without us broadcasting live on YouTube?
We can.
Or do I do it sit on the
We can leave it on and then just switch over the internet to your phone, if you like.
We need to switch to your phone, so Alvin
will do that. We can.
Yeah, we can.
Thank you. I'm calling you to see when we get enough time now actually playing all this. Can you call in again and just talk for about 3 minutes on what that is? No.
Take care of this.
Oh, you know what, Diana?
High school.
Yes, that is the
So
show.
he shifted to.
Oh, okay. You know what, it'll probably be in about 20 minutes. Will you be there? If not, Diana can do it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll call you.
Let me just start door. Can you bring us some water out of the office, out of the fridge? Okay. This is not our office, this is somebody else's.
I'm actually gonna journal make her take it. Yes, I'm gonna read it. I'm trying to submit an article. So, I'll just, I know at a conference.
Are we talking? It's gonna be involved.
I wanna look at the journal.
I know, that's why
I played some.
Okay.
And I thought it would be here, but I think we're getting ready for the cost.
There are systems that are.
Right, I didn't realize it was so soon.
came up with something.
There's changes and challenge and there's a lot of things going on. Republican,
Okay. To look for. I'm just gonna look it up. Is that?
Okay. We got, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you need your phone over there? Do you want your phone over there? Okay. We'll look it up.
And now there's a new one.
We're gonna do the video next.
Interim one.
Okay, yeah, the video is up. It's right here. Under Chrome.
Yeah, he's inside. He's certainly inside.
Click over here, you just press play. It's
Okay.
stop.
Stop.
Full screen, you just press that.
Yeah. Boy, you got it, boy.
That was just.
Okay, wait a minute.
Got a little bottle.
How do I go back to the right here? The actual, I click on the Chrome icon. One of us. Just when you're done with the video stuff, just press the stop.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's certainly.
Oh, they want to record it? They want to, okay.
And then the second part, go back to
Did you want it to keep recording or do you want to stop it? It's still recording.
Oh, turn it off.
And then start back up at one.
No, start back with it.
Oh. You want to record it, you want that recorded as well? But you gotta stop and run the video.
Yeah, so we'll just switch over to the video when it's time.
When it's time. Okay, okay. I got it.
Okay, so just.
But then you have to get little orders. Well. And this kind of bring them down. Says off. The keys?
Yeah, I was.
Oh my God.
And they're like, well, you know, we about to leave, so well.
want to get your say.
But they seem to take hold, you know, you're little people and nobody hugs you, nobody touches you, and I think for.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we
I actually trying to work with no, this was a general garden. Jackson, we've already
yeah. And so what I wanted to do was to get together in the state department to push our work out there. So that's what I called and to engage the superintendent, including having them come to having somebody from their state department. So that we can get like talk about that reduction on a national level. Because it really impacts.
Yeah, I think
and what we found was that in many cases our girls were being suspended.
Exactly.
That wasn't our case, but when so I've been working on since 2006. And part of how we've gotten it's really interesting.
And there's certain regulations that
Were you talking to somebody that's pushing?
Yeah. The monitor the state. And I can imagine trouble with my boss. I was pushing, like, okay, so what are you gonna do about that? What do you do about this? When I started working, of course, I said 2000 of that making sure
that's what I want to talk about. So one day I called, I said, they were trying to talk to her, and we got to start doing it. So I said to them, they would never really ask for that about the work that's being done. Thank you.
Hold on in a corner.
Thank you so much. Can you get some work?
Oh, really?
So we'll talk further about that because I think we can bring this into Ncebc and begin to do some work with them and get them more participatory. And I'm talking about
Navy State Superintendent will definitely stay. You know,
Okay.
so, cause we were way out of terrible. And so now, when they started looking at that, we had to change the criteria for suspension. Because, you know, we had that one part that is to define it. When you know, sisters, you roll your eyes, that's the, you know, as a white woman, that's just a define. Even if you roll your eyes at us, you know.
I was gonna say, when you look at
That's
the
fine.
data, I mean, I could actually argue it's just as many of us doing it as it is. And, that's the other part for me, when I do trainings, here, there, everywhere, it's like, you know, there's often this thing of, well, you know, it's like, stop telling me about it.
And then you can go out. You know, or with the little kids, they're not sitting down in the chair. You're going home. So that's what we're
Sending you a comment.
Absolutely. But I don't want to start big. I want to start Don't you think that's better?
Yeah, I certainly think that's better. And possibly develop a document. I was on the Council of State work groups, and we developed a document about 400 pages. It highlights specifics as to what they can do. What I found in my own experience, in my own practice, is that, you know, the first phase, which is changing the policies and procedures, you get immediate declines in numbers. So we're as a state, and my work is really now about that second stage, which is the real work, which is changing hearts and minds. And that's a whole lot harder pull than policy. I mean, we can craft policy like that, but to get people to really begin to think differently in how they engage young people, particularly young people who might be acting out, or young people just for whatever.
Might not even be
or they have something else. It becomes difficult for people to understand.
Right.
So was other Green Park.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, in fact, I'm supposed to be in Baltimore on Tuesday. Talking to April Bell. April Bell, Gear Up out of Greg Thornton's office.
Oh, okay, in Baltimore.
You sure?
And you stay.
What you gonna get?
Yes.
Coffee from the office. You know, they have to.
Why did I need, what really when I needed you when I was actually doing work and being paid? Because we have.
Excuse me, Robert, do you have any
I
questions from the office?
Water, if you have.
Bill, water?
Water here.
Well, I sent
Well,
Charles
if I can get,
I sent Charles for water,
Good.
but he ain't got back yet, but I
if
just said.
there's hot water, I have my own tea bag, so.
There's
Oh, you
a-
want some tea?
You're better.
You want hot
I'll
water?
bring you hot water.
Yeah.
Okay, hot water.
Thanks. No, well, Diana, I told you that
I used
story
to
about
work
how.
with Montgomery County when they were under the consent decree. As a consultant, working with parents. I got children that have been
Well, I do also.
identified as they call them severely, they don't call it severely, SED and mentally retarded, they don't call that anymore, but I certainly use a good partner in the state, because right now, I would not send my child to school.
Why?
I think that it does not have the underpinnings of support for African American children. The focus is on Latino kids, and African American children are falling. You don't even have a net, we just fall. The Latino kids have ESOL. They have all kinds of programs that address their needs coming into the environment, and they assume that Black kids have everything they need, and they don't. And as a result, if you look at the last trends, the Latino kids have been testing higher than native-born African American students, and nobody's up in arms about it except the crazy woman here. It's like, do you realize this is happening?
Mhm.
A lot of our black parents don't realize this is happening. And, you know, they seem to be, I won't say satisfied, but they're like deers in headlights and don't have the awareness that their children are not being taught. And they're not comprehending even what they are being taught and able to translate that to opportunity to be responsible students and going to school. I mean, a lot of our students from double income parents, educated, are not finishing high school in the requisite time.
Do you use the infuser for?
And that has me up in arms, and they always say, Monroe, I know you're not doing this anymore, but can you possibly just walk across the stage in graduation?
Yes.
Are they going to get finish their degree? I mean, I reviewed taking courses in the summertime or GED.
They're all downstairs.
If they can't assure me
Nobody's
that that's
answering,
gonna
nobody's
happen.
walking around either.
No,
Not
you
on the
made
door.
plans.
Now I want to come.
If you're gonna be here,
Call, tell them,
everybody's gonna be here for graduation, so it's really pandemic. I mean, it's almost like what is it when you have an Ebola crisis? It's pandemic. It's not. It's pandemic. And the thing is, I don't like to make a difference, but the children from the Caribbean, the children from Africa, are of the blacks who are achieving, those are the ones who are making the go. I mean,
I think, and I mean, my experience has been, I live in Prince George's County. And you got Prince George's, I mean, even Howard, which is supposedly great, Montgomery, which is supposedly great. I think to me, this is endemic of us as a collective group of people in that, just like the civil rights movement, in my opinion, we say we won because we got legislation and we got something else. And many of our parents, whether they're in Howard or Montgomery, or whatever, say, we won. We're in a good school system. We're good.
We went down
And
to
there's
the
not
office, Lynette was not down there.
thought that
Charles was, we
Prince
don't know where they went
George's
to.
County, I love the housing, but I couldn't,
So Shania went
for
back
the
down
little
there.
house that I have now, for what I paid for it back in, I could
They
have
did
had
go
me
through this
a
door right now.
mansion in Prince George's County. But after looking at the schools, I can't live in a 4-car garage with people with 5 Mercedes and a Lexus and an Infiniti, and your child can't read.
Well, but again, I think that to me is the point.
You
is
don't
that
have an
there's-
option in Prince George's County.
That folks have forgotten that there's another step to this. Like, yeah, okay, yeah.
And I know Rashawn Baker, we went to school together.
Yeah.
I went to talk to him, and you know what, I went to talk to him about something. And next thing I know, he was taking my crap and putting it on the TV. I said, oh hell, I should charge him for that. But I said, if it helps our young people, so be it. But Prince George's County, the most educated, highest income of blacks in the known universe, and their school system looks like something right out of Mississippi.
Better than Mississippi, because I've been in Mississippi.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little, it's about 50 points better than Mississippi.
Everything is about that.
Yeah, exactly.
50 points better than Mississippi. But given all of the education, the income in Prince George's County, it should be the Mecca.
I don't agree.
It should be
You know
the
why I
Mecca.
don't agree?
Why is that?
All you have to do is walk around the border. All you have to do is walk along the border. And you can see what happens and why Prince George is in the position that it's in.
Well, they had Trim Amendment for the longest time. The Trim Amendment kept monies from going, that's what Rashawn was trying to do, but it wasn't, I mean, it's been an overflow and an exodus of white people out of Prince George's County for eons now.
I'm not talking about them leaving. I'm talking about who's coming.
Well, okay, you got Southeast Extended, okay?
But it's bigger than Southeast Extended because now the people who would be moving into Montgomery County from other places, they can't afford to live there. So people of color, both brown, black and brown. Before it was mostly black.
Yeah,
But now
everybody's
it's black and brown.
Yep.
And so the borders of Prince George's County and it's not just the border. Like it is when you move into Prince George's County.
But Harry, this is just like a 5 to 8 year phenomenon. You had black people, well-established black people in Prince George's County prior to the browning, the difference, and we still did not make education a priority.
We didn't. Number-wise, I mean, I can speak from the state level. Number-wise, the numbers were better in 2006 when I came to the department than they are now in 2015.
But even in 2006,
they weren't
great.
In comparison to, let's say, Howard or Montgomery.
Or Kent.
Kent's been bad. Kent's been bad for a while, particularly for African American students. But I think at least from what I can see, it is not just exclusive to PG. PG might have the largest numbers.
Montgomery County is black people in Montgomery County are performing the same way children in Prince George's County. All I'm saying is that when we have a position of council, it's just like DC, council, county executive, you call every position.
No answer.
And even resources, okay?
Well, no, we just.
Well,
need
it here to marshal those assets for the betterment of our children.
I don't disagree with you. I think we're
I don't know what the answer is.
Disagree. I think we are.
I have the answer. The answer is in this room with the three of you. It's a commission on the question from the local school districts with the Maryland State Commission on African American.
Yeah, I was on that. I was on that task. Using my 2006 task force that created the document. Nancy Grassman
put that together.
Oh, she used to be the superintendent.
Yeah. What's her last name?
I actually on both groups, the 2006 group and the 2010.
Lady from South Carolina.
Papers that we want to do. I mean, you got the Evans report.
I got
out since God knows
copy
when.
of that commission report.
The master
Bill is referring to the Commission for African Education for Excellence.
It's not
Quality that we put together.
I like summer.
Of all the black organizations got together and says, here's the things that we demand in the school system. Many charter schools, because that's what we were finding that the kids were not doing as well as what was being reported.
It's changed so much.
So we went to the mayor, controls,
I love San Francisco.
and gave him something.
I've never really been able to get the, I mean, I like
around
to go and
voice.
eat.
How can you just do things to our
Yeah.
children?
And the season, it's cool there, Southern California.
So I'll give you a copy of that. I have it's an organizational chart that
Yeah, it's hot. So when I wanna,
I'll give it
cold.
to you.
But like.
It sounds similar to something that was done in Maryland,
When I really wanna
maybe
do
in
the season.
2008.
That's
There was a group, education, group of educators that came together
there.
and submitted a document to Dr. Grassley about what they wanted for black
That's
children.
exactly what, that's exactly what.
Yeah, I don't know if I have it on my, I don't have it
You
here.
know what?
I almost got
The key
myself
piece
a
with
sign.
this, it takes your blueprint, your black and white action plan, and becomes an implementation piece.
I actually
Where
don't
it's
visit
board
that much, but
members,
if I
you're really
can, I have a-
on the periphery, more than an advisory role, but encouraging all
In
the
the stores,
stakeholders
in the.
with support to come forward and
It's all
move,
night.
and where it becomes their
It's
action.
in Dutch Club.
In terms of
pulse of it.
Oh, see,
but now the framework's already.
and
That's
that's
why I
the
go to
part,
San
one of the issues is that we have all these,
You know, because I don't get that.
Commissions. and every time I've been on a commission, I can count the number of parents. And even when the parents, a lot of the parents aren't actually stakeholders. That's what they say. Just a parent like me who's had a child, I need a parent who actually has a child or children in the system. Let's make it so they can understand and be able to articulate and share it with other parents.
And how you grow your own, basically you take it, you look at your state PTAs, local PTOs, where folks are already there, but you're providing a support network, because when you were a parent, remember, the last thing you needed was another cause to jump on. You needed something that was already structured, organized, where you could come in and just provide some assistance and build the numbers.
And getting
that's
Black
what this
parents
does.
to get into PTOs and PTAs is very difficult.
Well, again, it gets back to the research, just another meeting is not gonna help. But if you're pointing to achievement for your child, you know, I have that basic theory, we're getting back to my basic theory that if, you know, we had, on a car, you know, as we look at the temperature gauge, you know, how it'll go, you know, cold, medium, heat. You know, kind of gauge, family engagement, the same piece where normally it's reactive, sometimes proactive, and a lot of inactive. So how do we, you know, get right to the middle where it's kind of proactive? You tap into the reactive piece and give them some tools and build it that way. So.
Well, I found what works in getting 200 and 300 parents out at a time.
See, and so LA is kind of like that, but it's
inviting them just on a topic. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that they have to act on right now. Because so many of them, the ones that are going to do are already doing it. It's a critical mass of parents that just don't do for whatever reason, no judgment. But it could be work, time, not interested in transportation,
it was
other
so
children.
good.
But if you can have one activity at the beginning of the year that has everything that's sort of exciting, almost like a little, I did a fair, and tables and food, not just cookies and punch. I had plantains. I had different cultural things that were interesting, and it was advertised. Had it donated, and we just had different parents cook it. We had about 300 to 200 parents come out. And
so was Reggie?
So how are you?
Good.
How was your flight?
And so that's that.
Yeah.
It was good. I
got it yesterday. So I got one of my really good girlfriends there. So we did dinner and training. You know, hung out, have a little fun before. Yeah. At least I can feel like I did something for me. Not me. I go back home tomorrow.
Oh, you want to
I am. When are you going back today?
No.
Oh, you like, okay, so you're gonna have a day.
Yeah.
They have gone.
Yeah. I did mine on the front. I do. 4 months. Girl, he's older than the light of our world.
Oh, I try my best.
And so when you said Spelman, I'm like, I'm just getting started.
Yes.
And we want, my husband wants another.
Oh, absolutely.
When I tell you that I had to tell brother, I just look like
That baby needs a playmate.
which is what he
You made it work somehow without the playmate.
I would say this. I was like one of them kids in high school. I was one and done. I don't need no more. I got the one. I'm good.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Charles Coleman. Nice to meet you. Welcome aboard. I hail from Joliet, Illinois. Okay.
Y'all can see my
I actually live in Fort Washington. There you go. Okay.
We're gonna start, guys.
Okay.
We turned that 5-minute break into a typical.
I know. It was Shania's fault. We were downstairs.
No, Shania was up here with me.
Didn't I just?
No, you know what we did? We were real resourceful and productive. We ordered lunch.
Oh,
Okay. We also got coffee coming.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
So-
y'all.
As good as
It was perfect.
As my mama used to say in Inglewood, y'all done good.
we done
Mama's all right. You know what's right.
We're going to watch 11-minute video.
Okay.
And this video will give you more of the history and more about our programs, the kinds of things that we've done at a state level. That'll give you a better background and get into talking about the actual structure of the organization. I hope I hit that right. I hit it right.
Oh, yeah. I did my first grade.
Oh, you might have this.
Why is this not doing this? Because it's gonna pause.
Am I getting the right thing?
It's not pause.
It's playing.
It's going there, just turn it
Where's
on.
the sound?
Where's the sound?
Where is it? Where's
On
it?
the
top.
left.
Up at the
Is
top,
it playing through the computer or the?
the computer. Here comes some help. There it is down at the
Water
bottom.
from scratch. I cook it from scratch.
There's another mic down at the bottom.
Sound on the video.
I'm on the way.
Bake a cake from scratch.
Sean, you took my check personal way. Yes.
No,
I
he here.
just thought about
You got it right. You got it right
I
there.
just thought about that. I said our tech people just
Oh, he right here. You see how he jumped up? He on it.
Okay, let's
Our
think
board members
about
on.
this.
We got confidence that he's gonna make it
See
work.
that thing over to the right?
It's down at the
far
bottom.
right at the bottom,
It's down at the bottom.
that's the
That's
volume.
Oh, I
Right
see
there.
it. I see
Where?
it.
You
I
need
see
the-
where the horn
That little,
is.
where the horn
Right,
and the emblem.
right, right.
See it there.
But on the left.
Yeah, it's not muted though.
It's not muted, no.
Is
Yeah,
it just
you did
the
it.
monitor that needs to be turned up?
It's
It's at 100%.
Yeah.
It's
Is
not
there,
bad.
is there not just started for
That's
time?
what I was.
There we
There
go.
you go, see?
I'm done. I'm going back to
Yeah,
bed.
she's playing, but I can't get the volume.
Can you back it up?
Is the volume?
Can you back it up, Diana?
Yeah. I'm so back.
See, that's right.
There's a remote control behind the thing somewhere.
It is modified.
There we go. Behind Bill is the remote.
Behind Bill?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you, ma'am.
There was, he was remote over here.
That's Harry's voice.
Oh, yes. How do we do it? No, no, tell me how we do it after.
Served as California's first African-American congressman from 1963 through 1991. He served as chairman of the Education and Labor Committee and was the author of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. The Honorable Augustus L. Hawkins invited a coalition of 42 of the nation's African-American educators and leaders to come together, challenging them to develop a plan to improve the assessment, the academia of rigor, and relevant instruction to prepare the African-American learner for a competitive global society. The result was the Blueprint for Action, based on the effective school models of the late Dr. Ron Edmonds.
Blueprint for Action was put together by 13 stakeholder groups, everything from our religious families to our parent and student communities. It reflected what we call the
State
village.
superintendent.
And the villages are
Pennsylvania.
responsible. The village meaning our churches, our schools, our families, and our community. It was a reflection of all of those coming together on behalf of the strengthening of our young people's success in school. The blueprint was designed by each one of those stakeholders. It is modified when we feel that the time has come for a change in this direction because of a change in the culture that's affecting our young people.
Key to the model is the accountability of stakeholders. Each model embraces additional groups that have a vested interest in and responsibility for the mission. Stakeholders are students, superintendents, parents, family, teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals, support service providers, policymakers, higher education leaders, business and community leaders, and religious communities. From 1989 to 1992, groupings of states were established to form the Mid-Atlantic, Midwest, Northeast, Southeast, Southwest, and Western regions to locally distribute the blueprint and acquaint local communities with its implementation. This revised focus was due in part to the 2006 Schott Foundation report, which confirmed Black males as the population most at risk for failing within the typical academic structure. With renewed vigor, Ncebc hosted national conventions in 2007, 2008, and 2009 that marked significant progress, resulting in the complete submission of Black male action plans in 22 states across the country.
state plan will focus on establishing Augustus F. Hawkins Literacy Centers, parent university curriculum, research studies, mentoring programs, and building a coalition of the willing to engage in the work representative of the stakeholders in the National Blueprint for Action. Every 5 seconds during the school day, a Black public school student is suspended. Every 46 seconds during the school day, a Black high school student drops out. Every minute, a Black child is arrested and a Black baby is born to an unmarried mother. Every 3 minutes, a Black child is born into poverty. Every hour, a Black baby dies. Every 4 hours, a Black child or a youth under 20 dies from an accident. And every 5 hours, a Black youth is a homicide victim. Every day, a Black young person under 25 dies from HIV infection. And a Black child or a youth under 20 commits suicide.
Can you show me the doll that is a nice doll? Now, why is that the nice doll? Can you show me the doll that looks bad? And why does that look bad? Because it's bad.
The National Council on Educating Black Children began a journey across the state of Indiana to bring together communities of African Americans living in southern Indiana cities along the banks of the Ohio River to North Indiana cities along the shores of Lake Michigan to the capital city of this great state. Coalitions of the willing, interested in increasing graduation rates among African American students with a focus on Black males came together in the city of Indianapolis. Over 20 cities were represented and 750 individuals and organizations attended conferences held over an 8-month period. In Conference 1, attendees gathered to hear the research data on graduation rates. In Conference 2, they attended workshops, brainstormed solutions, and began to write action plans.
I think that it's a great thing to bring the cities together, and we can see exactly today during the big meeting, we could see exactly where Kokomo Center schools ranked in the scores, where what we need to do to work to improve, and how we compare with these other cities. So that was very important to me, and it gave us a line of where I need to take this back to the other school board members and let them see what Kokomo Center Schools needs to do to improve the students, Black male students in our corporation.
In Conference 3, 16 cities out of 20 invited to participate, or 80%, submitted plans of action correlates for their community to improve graduation rates among African American students. The plans were verbally reported and submitted to the Indiana Superintendent of Public Instruction and other Department of Education personnel. 16 city councils on educating Black children, each representing their city, was formed. Hence, the formation of the councils established a hub in each city to activate the plans through a 3-tier process. The councils are hubs, not chapters nor affiliates, for there are other national organizations that have local representation. The councils to act as a hub to bring all community groups and individuals together to activate the plan's action steps. Ncebc has 4 program offerings: Augustus F. Hawkins Literacy Centers, Touching the Spirit, Parent University, and the Black Male Action Plan. NCEBC has 21 literacy centers operating in 6 states: Florida, Louisiana, Georgia, Kentucky, California, and Indiana. 6 of these centers are school-based, operating through a 21st Century grant in the Metropolitan School District of Lawrence Township Schools. The other 15 centers are church and community-based centers that operate in neighborhoods that are characteristic of high crime and low academy performance. The Touching the Spirit framework was developed by Augusta Mann to help teachers utilize culture in the achievement of educational excellence for underachieving African Americans and other students. The Parent University curriculum teaches parents to hold accountable public officials, education leaders, their children's schools, and school systems for the provision of a high-quality public education. The Black Male Action Plan is a call to action involving all stakeholders to be involved with a sense of urgency to address the educational ills of Black boys.
We need systemic programs that have methodologies and strategies that can be incorporated into the classroom on a daily basis that will help these young people, our African American males, our African American females, become proficient speakers, readers, and writers of the language of instruction. I maintain that this is really one of the greatest barriers to their ability to access core curriculum, because language is foundational learning across the content areas. And unless they have that kind of facility, they will never be able to function effectively in American educational schools.
If you have an interest in cultural diversity, literacy support, parenting, or helping to organize staff development opportunities, volunteer or join one of the correlates by simply emailing ncebc@sbcglobal.net or call 317-283-9081. This is the National Council on Educating Black Children.
I think that gave you a better idea or some idea of who we are. I gotta go back to this media thing here. Is that it?
No, let me figure out from the,
I don't see it. Where's it?
you wanna go to the other, go to Chrome.
I'm glad somebody's here because I don't know how to do all that.
It says here's the stuff in Chrome.
That video mentioned several documents that you have inside your bags. One was the blueprint for action, another one is the call to action guide, and you also have inside of your guide information on programs that we have operated. I think we have Jean McCullum who's going to talk about the Black Male Action Plan, Pam. Is she going to get on the line now? Okay. While she's getting Jean on the line, are there any questions so far about what you have seen? Any comments about it?
It's a well-done video. Well done.
Thank you. Okay. Well, in that video, what you saw was some of the things we talked about and the symbolism of NCEBC. You saw a spiritual base, involvement of the church. We had 22 churches involved with us at one point with establishing these centers. And in the blueprint, there is a section that talks about the role that the church must play. So that connection was strong. You also heard them talk about Black males. In the blueprint, the section on students and the commitment to Black males is very strong among this group. And we started that work back in 2006 after Dr. Rosa Smith came to our convention in Chicago and gave a report on Black boys in public education. That was a turning point for us to look at that population. And so we began then to focus on Black boys and began to see what we could do. So in Indiana, that's what we did as a state. We pulled together 20 cities. Of the 20, 16 wrote Black Male Action Plans, and we have them downstairs and show them to you.
Since that time, we have done 103 cities have been written Black Belt action plans who are coming to our conferences. And we have those downstairs as well as online. One of the issues that we have as a group is that we don't have personnel to follow behind each one of those cities. We don't have the staff, we don't have those. So we rely upon the people who come to the conferences to go back and to carry that mission with them. Some do, some don't. So that's one of the issues. If we had a large staff, and I think partnering with KI is going to be a big help for us because they know so much more about social media and how to get this message out than what we do, I do, I should say. So is Gene on the line?
He's gonna call in now. I just was thinking, where does he call into?
Well, is he calling the conference line?
I don't know. I just.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com. Please access. You entered 400319. If this is correct, press 1. You are the first caller. You will be placed on hold until the next caller arrives.
Thank you. Well, we'll wait for Gene to come on. Is he coming now?
He was. I just got to tell him to call the conference.
Okay. Well, in your folder, you have a small booklet. I think you have it out over there, Monroe. Just hold that up, please. And in that booklet, that's the call to action guide. It gives you 3 steps of how to actually design a Black Belt action program for your state.
Gene's on now.
Okay, Gene, are you on? Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dan. I don't want to stop you.
Oh, I'm just pointing to the Black Belt Action Plan booklet, the call to action guide, which shows you how to go about planning and how to go about putting together your Black Belt Action Plan. Okay, go ahead. Gene, you can go ahead and talk.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I can't,
All right,
I don't want to interrupt what you're doing. Go ahead.
Well, we had roughly 37 states have written Black Belt Action Plans that we have worked with at our conferences in 103 cities. Since that time, we have produced another book, which is called the Black Belt Action Planning Guide, that was written about a year or 2 years ago, and you don't have a copy of that. And in that guide, it gives you the information and the data of what we have done since 2009, and it also gives you what are some of the things that the people are asking for. And out of this process, what we came up with was that there was a need in each of those cities to have a commission on African American education, focusing up on Black boys. And I'll give you a copy of what that document looks like. It's just downstairs. And the commission was around equity, justice, and quality. And we took those 3 things and we broke them into questions that we raised with school districts over voice. What types of policies are being done without the voice of African American parents? What is the quality of the programs, and what is the school programs equitable? So equity, justice, and quality became the 3 things that we were focused upon. Gene, you want to talk more about what you and Kamal have done with the Black Belt Action Planning?
Yes.
Okay.
Kamal
normally really one of my strongest resources. When we get together as a committee, we make sure that the training at the conference is parallel with what Diana just talked about, and we strongly stress areas for people to specialize in. It's a special committee. Come on, Richard Barnes and Ken Phelps. Ken Phelps worked with us the whole time. And when we bring the people together, we make sure that when they submit their Black Male Action Plan, because they get a chance to write it, we break up and we meet with them in small groups and assist them in writing their Black Male Action Plan. And they go off in all different areas which they're supposed to. After they write the Black Male Action Plan, we come back together. We talk about what has been written. And we talk about strategies to be used when you go out into the community. One of our problems we've had over the years, and Diana knows this, is the funding to support those Black Male Action Plans. We don't have funds or money to go out. I worked out one time in worked with a group. And we said a couple of times when I was the second vice president. But we have to get, once you get a Black Male Action Plan, now how are you going to support it as a board in order to give people the resources to do it? That's what we struggle and that's what we need to be addressing. Is there anything else, Diana, you was referring to?
No, I think that's about it. I think you probably need to mention that we were doing Black Male Action Plan before My Brother's Keeper. Before any other group got started, we were out there doing this work back in 2000.
And before the research.
Right, and the research on it. Yeah, we were doing this in 2006, 2007, and Norfolk was our very first conference with all the support of the superintendents in Virginia. Over 700 people began to formulate what these plans could look like. We were way out there ahead of the curve. And in 2010, when Indiana as a state began to do it, what we came up against was there was no money or no one was willing to give us dollars to take the action plans into being done, so them to actually make them happen. I think now you could probably take those action plans and perhaps find some dollars, since My Brother's Keeper and since a lot of foundations are now have changed their thinking and they are in support of programs for Black males. So we've been at this almost 10 years.
Yeah, but also it's research based. So for everything that's out, research by, like Michelle Alexander's book, The Prison to Pipeline to Prison, we use that extensively for people to read it, look at it, and talk about how we're going to fight those prison to pipeline things that, So, yeah, Kamala is extremely good with doing that research. We try to all do some research, bring it back to the committee, which is very important. And that committee that you appoint, Pam, must be interested in. And Ken Phelps is one I highly recommend, because he has written a Black Male Action Plan for Canada, Nova Scotia, Canada. He has one. And he also worked very hard with he's a good workshop presenter. Mm-hmm. So I think the thing we need to talk about is, one, it's highly research-based. Every year we try to bring the research in that's out there. And it changes from time to time. And then a follow-up is the Black Male Action Plan. We need to put time in the conference if that's what we're going to do. We have to provide enough time for those people to really get together. And we try to send something out before the conference. And one thing I want to talk to the blog radio program, Eric and who I keep thinking of her name right now.
Nicole.
Nicole, forgive me, dear.
I know, Mr. Jean, I know.
Nicole has been very good with this. We come on the radio and talk about what's going to happen at that conference and try to encourage people to come and also participate in writing a Black Male Action Plan. So for it, everything is there. It's a 10-year research, and it's always current, not based on 10 years ago. And that committee does that.
Okay. Okay, well, Gene, thank you. We're going to now move forward with the additional training, which is going to be on the bylaws, the call to action guide, or we talked about that. The Blog Talk Show, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the code of ethics, which you have inside of your bag. And I'll turn this back over to Pam.
Jean, are you still on the phone?
Yeah, I'll be for a little while.
Okay, so let
minute.
me skip around since you're still on the phone, and let's go to the code of ethics, since that was a committee that you worked on, and you can talk to our board about the code of ethics, how that started and what that means for the organization.
Well, it goes back. I hope you have a copy of it, because
Yes,
it's very
you should have a
important.
copy.
Everybody has a copy of it?
I kind of know it, but it's in your
bag.
It's in your bag.
Right, right. It was necessary to do that because people were going out doing all different things when you're on the board. You know, you have people doing all kinds of stuff.
So Jean, they can't find it, so why don't we just talk about it real quickly? Yeah, that's
Code of
like
ethics, you got it there?
Yeah.
in the folder.
Oh,
It's in the
that's
folder.
okay. Yeah, that's what I, go ahead, Jean. Jean? Jean? Oh, we lost him. So, did we lose him?
He's still on. He may be on mute, but we have it.
Okay, so Jean? So let me just start off a little bit and then he'll come on. So, in order to keep us, from doing anything wrong, that's the best way for me to do it. I think the code of ethics was written about 2008.
It was written about 2012.
Oh.
And was based upon the organization members. It's based upon several values that I talked about this morning. It's based upon respect. It's based upon loyalty. It was based upon, let's see here, self-discipline, creativity and honesty, loyalty. It was based upon the kinds of values that we wanted to make sure that the board members were always exhibiting and engaging in when they represent Ncebc. And so in order to make sure that we had some guidelines that we all could buy into and believe in, a committee, an ethics committee was formed. And that committee put together these codes of the code of ethics.
Right.
The things that we as a board need to believe in and exhibit, and how we treat each other in board meetings as well, the respect that must be shown toward each other. How we present ourselves into the public, how we work with vendors in terms of being upfront, honest, and not making any engagements or commitments on behalf of a board when everything hasn't come back to the board for support and for approval. It is also based upon a bit of self-discipline. Sometimes we all get ideas and want to push them forward without giving the respect to the officers or respect to a chain of command that things need to go through. And so all of these types of things is in the code of ethics. Many of you, I'm sure, have served on boards where you have had these type of codes already there, but it's always necessary to call it to the attention of new board members, as well as the old. We need to always go over those things as well to make sure we're acting in the best faith of the organization. One of the things that creativity, we do encourage that. I think you gotta have that going in the organization. And, but there is a chain of command that the creativity needs to go through. And starting with the president, starting with the board, the executive team, and then out to the actual board members. So I think that best describes it, you know.
Jean, did you want to add anything to that?
Oh, Diana did a beautiful job because we have to follow the code of ethics. If there's a conflict between the board member, then it goes to the ethics committee, and there are procedures in how you register that conflict. So it's something that we all need to be familiar with. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's there.
So within this, there is the bylaws, and the bylaws and the code of ethics kind of work hand in hand with each other. The one thing that I do want to emphasize with the code of ethics is that, and Diana alluded to this, but a lot of times you'll have people that will come on a board like this board. We all sit on boards, and they will promote themselves in terms of selling themselves or selling a product that they have made. For example, they might have written a book or a documentary or something like that. Our organization does not allow for that to occur. So we are very supportive of our consultants, our authors, all of that. We're very supportive of that, but not on the back of Ncebc. So one of the reasons why the code of ethics was put there was to make sure that folks were not taking advantage of the organization and selling their product on our back. And there is a process as you look through it, when you have time, not now, that occurs when in fact that happens. It doesn't just happen automatically, but it will happen. Go ahead, Jean. You want to say something?
Oh, you're right. You're right. You guys are, you're absolutely correct.
So as I mentioned, it goes hand in hand with the board of, with the bylaws. And so if you can pull out your bylaws now, let's go through some of that. And what I do,
Pam, I'm gonna have to hang up.
Okay, darling, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
So what I do with my bylaws is I always have it online. And so sometimes, Shania, when I was first vice president, and Sheila wasn't there to do the meetings, I always had on my screen a copy of the bylaws along with the agenda. So now that I'm the president, I still have a copy of the bylaws along with the agenda. But this year we appointed a parliamentarian, which is Attorney Downhead, who sometimes I will call to freshen me up. Did we do this right? Can you stay on the line just in case this has, we need some help with that. And so he has familiarized himself with our bylaws. I'm gonna just speak very briefly on that, let he and Diana talk about that a little bit. But the bylaws is what governs this organization. And as you read through the bylaws, you will see specifically what your roles and responsibilities are as a board member with Ncebc. This afternoon, later on this afternoon, we'll dive into that a lot more. But I would ask that you turn to the page, I don't have mine in front of me, that has to do with roles and responsibilities of the board members. Do you see that in there? Thank you. I kind of know what I'm doing right now. So you will see that exactly what your roles and responsibilities are, and the mission that's behind this with regards to that. The main things I want to tell you that you are definitely responsible for in order to have a good standing on the board are 4 areas. One, that is you have to attend meetings. We have moved away from having meetings outside of, going from city to city. And we now have conference call meetings once a month. And you will get email notice from our secretary, Carol Rains Brown, as to when those meetings occur. I will tell you though that they occur the second Tuesday of the month at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, And this year we have made a commitment, the executive team has made a commitment to only have the meetings for 1 hour. So it's a 1 hour conference call.
You said the second Tuesday?
The second Tuesday of the month at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it's a call-in number. When you get the email, Carol will tell you what the call-in number is along with the agenda. And so we ask that you attend your meetings. We ask that you attend any kind of meetings. We're supposed to have meetings 3 times a year, which is person to person. This is considered one of those meetings. Although we don't have our full board here, it is a fall meeting, so to speak. And then we ask that you attend the convention, the annual conventions. This year it is April 23rd through the 26th. It happens to be in Baltimore, Maryland. We travel across 20 through 23. We travel throughout the country. Last year we were here in Indianapolis in the Midwest. We've been to New Orleans, Chicago, Las Vegas. We've been on the East Coast since I've been on the board. This is my second time being on the East Coast. And so we, at the end of the convention in April, we'll make some kind of decision about where we may want to go next year. So we ask that you attend that. You have to pay membership dues, which is $100 per year. And we ask that you be active in the organization. And I've already assigned you guys to committees based on
You didn't say that like.
conference. Everybody conference. Just about everybody here is conferences. Some folks is in 2 or 3 things. So, so we ask that you participate in that. Now, Diana, did I get all of the things for them to say good standing?
Well, one thing that we'll need to do is understand that you are a sustaining board member. And as a sustaining board member, this category is for people who were not on the board in 1992 as a founding board member. So as a sustaining board member, I'm not Shania.
He's supposed to be on. As a sustaining board member, you can go off of the board. So you stay on the board for how many years?
Well, we'll need to draw straws today. We'll need to draw some straws, and drawing the straws will determine if or not you are a sustaining board member for 2 years or for 3 years. And that determines when you go off the board. Okay. And the sustaining board members meet the same criteria as the founding board members, which Pam has just gone over with you. And the sustaining board members, and I think that the nominating committee's done a good job of that, have found people to represent each category in the blueprint: parents and families, administrators and business and community, religion and students, parents, policymakers, support service providers, paraprofessionals, and institutional members. So glad to have the NEA here. So as the institutional membership, not for you this year, Harry, but next year, institutional board members are organizations and corporations with an educational concern, like the NEA, the AFT, NBCL, SL, will be invited to become members, and you'll pay an annual dues. The organization will pay an annual dues of $1,000 each. And these terms will be indefinite. You have a indefinite seat as long as the annual dues are paid. Okay. Sustaining board members rotate off the board, but you will not.
That's you. So sustaining board members rotate off the board, except you will could receive a letter from the nominating committee if you were in good standing, asking if you would like to return to the board. But good standing means you've done some work. I can tell you that you are a workaholic. You're doing some work, you've attended the conventions, you've attended, it means that you're in excellent standing. And then the board will vote right in front of you whether or not you get to stay or not. It's as simple as that. So, and you may decide in 2 or 3 years that you no longer want to be on the board, and that's entirely up to you, how you want to do that. But we want you to be on the board, and we need for you to work. That's why we voted you in. You were well vested. We talked to people about you, so you come with excellent reputations. So you will have that opportunity to do it. AFT is also going to be on the board with us this year. So, so we do have, as Diana said, organizations. Now, so let me turn to my brother over here from the State Department of Education and say, I'm not for sure how that will work. You come on as an individual member, but say if the State Department of Education wanted to join, like Charles is the superintendent, he pays not only the institutional fee for his school district, but he also pays the straight membership. So say, we've talked about your situation there. I've already talked to him about the state getting involved, Diana and the superintendent. Maryland is in transition from one superintendent to an interim superintendent as of today.
Yes.
As of today. So I've already talked to Robert about the possibility of us meeting with that state superintendent, the incoming state superintendent. So you very well could be an institution that would come in and pay the $500. So that's something that you might want to.
So I do have a question. Do we have any university-based partnerships?
Yes, we do. We have IUPUI is our local partnership here in the city. The dean of the School of Ed, Dr. Robin Hughes, is putting an intern in our office to help out. We've had Butler University has also been a partner. So we do have those.
And I mean, that's obviously, since I'm at university, that's my interest of how to build from the Southwest. Because hopefully in the spring, I'll be getting into my school education. And so that will give me even more latitude in bringing in additional resources. So I'm just always thinking of that.
Thank you.
Motion.
In terms of intern type support, I might also consider the schools of social work because of the macro.
That's right.
Because of the macro folks who are doing direct service.
That's correct.
This kind of work would fall.
You're exactly correct.
That's a good thought, and I do know the dean of the school of social work. That's a very good idea. I hadn't even thought about her. I hadn't even thought about asking her. Gee. Huh?
Leave us out with.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought, that's a great idea. Thank you. That's a good idea. At one point, we had the dean of the school of social work in Howard was on the board. Way back when, she was on the board right now. But I forgot about her. Henderson was her name. I forgot about her all these years.
Are you gonna find out if he's here?
Social work is getting more and more enhanced. The most important thing is kids' health. That's why a lot of the service here is that the free over chat, Absolutely. Do you work with Katrina
Thompson?
I'm a 30 Thompson.
Yeah, I did. She actually hired me.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Great idea. But that's kind of, you may want to read these bylaws, make sure you thoroughly understand them. But what is the difference between a founding board member, for those who were on the board before 1992, an emeritus board member, those who were founding members who have decided to become emeritus. And they still work with us, like Al Tony and Faustine Jones Wilson and Grace Drivers, they still are active with us. Sustaining board members, that's a category that you're coming on under. And then there is the institutional board member, and that is, you're representing the institution that is actually supporting us. Pam has already talked about the meetings.
On page 6, it gives you the duties and responsibilities of board of directors. You may want to read those carefully.
There is one thing on that page, Diane, that I want to bring to your attention to. Bill, jump in anytime. We really need for you to be on those conference calls so that we have a quorum.
Right.
This is the largest board we've ever had. We have 35 members.
So it's quorum now.
Unheard of.
Unheard of, yeah.
How many again?
By definition of a quorum.
Yeah, it's 50% plus one. So we just really, so you'll be getting notice from us all the time saying, get on that call. And by the way, when you get on the call, we have a mechanism in the office that can tell when you get on the call and when you get off the call. So I just want to let you know that. And so that's why we moved it down to 1 hour, because we're having people, just because of their own personal things, needed to get off the call within an hour. You know, as the president, I am very respectful of Charles being a superintendent. I'm very respectful of my attorneys. I'm very respectful of what you do if you work in people, and that you can't stay on the call. And I'm respectful of mamas. So, you know, I very much am. I've done that. So I know you cannot hang on the phone when you got dinner to cook or dinner to eat. You know, your wife is telling you to come and eat, or you are in your office.
I've been cooking for your wife.
Yeah, you're in your office working, and the board and I, the executive team and I, plus other board members, have held me to the fire to 1 hour. So one of the things we'll do with Bill's help is when we don't finish something, we'll just move it over to the next meeting. So I had indicated that you're on committees, and most of your work on committees will be outside of board meetings. So they will be monitored, because every last one of the executive team is on a committee. And Diana and I have the privilege of being on all the committees. We can't attend all the meetings, but we will monitor those meetings and participate as much as we can in those meetings to make sure that that committee work is being done. So the committee work is not being a part of a board meeting. It is where you have reported out what your recommendation is going to be to the entire board for us to take a vote on it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the only other thing I wanted to point out to you in these bylaws, Diane has gone over all this really good. Talked about the committees. Bill, can you think of anything?
Be advised, there are special committees that have been created. Bylaws and ethics is one. Let's see. What else comes to mind, Diana, in terms of?
Well, ethics committee is been combined with the bylaws committee somewhat. The nominating committee is a standing committee. There are standing committees and ad hoc ones. You also will see in the bylaws that there is alternative structures are also offered. Instead, there's ways to do state structures. There's ways to do regional structures. All of that is there in the bylaws. When this was written almost 30 years ago, they were really forward thinking, because they were thinking in terms of regions, in terms of states, and even in terms of cities. And credit goes to Dr. Claude Mayberry, who went around the country and organized the 6 different regions. And he did it out of his own personal pocket, like many of us do things. Because like I said, teaching in this organization is spiritual, it's also cultural. But there is a commitment there to go above and beyond. So on page 10 is a listing of the states and what regions that those states are in. Robert and Harry, you're from the Mid-Atlantic and Monroe. You had a large region at one point there that was very, very strong. And I attended many of those meetings, and you met at Howard back in the day, back in the 90s. Y'all met at Howard University, and we had to stay at the Howard Hotel.
which is now gone, but they had a nice little jazz group in there in the bar area, yeah, so we hung in there, we had a good time. But the Mid-Atlantic under Faustine Jones-Wilson and Lola Crawford and Francina Cummings really developed the organization from the very beginning. They deserve lots of credit for it. California, you were in the Western region, which is still functioning. There is still a Western Regional Council on Educating Black Children. We did have the Midwest region and people moved away. And so when you lost your leadership, no one else picked it back up. So that is no longer operating. We had a strong region in the Southeast with Al Squire, who's with AFT. And remember Alan, okay, yeah. We had a strong region there, came out of Florida, Georgia, Florida and South Carolina. They did some great work down there. But like Al moved on and the leadership didn't just went. In the Southwest region, we had a state, she was a state representative, Joyce Elliott, out of Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas. That was very helpful in developing that the Southwest region. So these regions had one point, they've all operated, they've all functioned at one point. And I think the organization will need to decide if we will need to go back to another type structure that gets more grassroots people involved in the running, not also the running of it, but to spread the word about the kinds of work that we're actually doing. And so hopefully the board will take up that discussion of what are some alternative ways with some better guidelines than what we had back in the 90s of who starts regions and how they run and how they operate, because that was part of the problem. Everyone wanted to be in charge. And when everybody wanted to be in charge, there's all chiefs and no Indians. So hopefully the board will come up with some alternative ways of doing that. The state structure for us in this state worked well. I like the state structure because it put us right down in the superintendent of the state's office. And it gave us a lot of power and a lot of insight. It also made us meet with the state legislators, which was important, which you don't get in a regional structure, but you do get that in a state structure. So there's lots of ways to think about how to do this. And the foresight for this goes to Faustine Jones-Wilson and Lola and Francina. Michael Bryce was a part of that. And we just, this is how this was all developed at Howard University, in the hotel, in the lounge, at the bar. So it was worth it.
Written on napkins now.
Yeah, lots of good things.
I get back to that kind of thing.
We have lots of good things happening in bars.
Good wine.
Good time.
That's right.
Good time doing that.
We had a little bar stuff last night.
All right. Good things happen. Good things happen there. So hopefully we will be able to branch. We have been a top-heavy structure. And that was due to the fact that we needed to get back. We didn't meet for 5 years, from 2000 until 2005. And we met in Hunt Valley in 2005. And Hunt Valley was very significant because 22 people came from all over the country with their own expense to revitalize the organization, including Claude Mayberry and Donald Clark and Jerome Harris. And the Faustine was there, and Francina was there, and the West Coast was all there. So there were a lot of interest in doing that, and we did do it. And the focus was upon let's build this national. Let's make sure we have a national structure in place. So I think we have done that the last 10 years. It's time to look at how we can perhaps do another type of structure that would help to keep the national going, but also broaden the base out where we have regions and states operating as well.
So there are certain parts of the bylaws that we will be looking at this year that we're going to have to go in and change just based on some of the things that Diana has spoken about. And when that happens, you will know about it. There is a bylaw ethics committee. Those people are founding members, with the exception of myself. And so they'll guide us through some of the stuff that we need to do. Diana mentioned one thing, and I mentioned this to you in the letter I sent out to you, inviting you to this orientation, and it had to do with expense. We are not an organization that pays for any board member to travel or do any of that. And so when you travel, when you go to convention next year in Baltimore, with the exception of the folks that live right there, you will be required to take up your own expenses. You know, that includes, by the way, your registration. You don't get a free ride because you're a board member and not have to pay registration. You're required to pay registration if you stay in a hotel. All of that, all those expenses you are required to do. And that is so that we don't take out of this pot, and that this pot goes towards the management of the national organization, okay, Charles, and any kind of programmatic things that we have. It pays for your liability insurance in terms of being a board member, so that you're not sued. And if you are sued, it's taken care of. But we pay for everything that we do. And from time to time, you know, that I'm just gonna be real with you, there may be a time where we might say, can you give 50 cents? Or so I'm being facetious with that. But it's not beyond board members to know that we may need something and send a donation in to the national office so that they can take care of business. Yes, sir.
To Pam's point in reference to your personal financial obligation to take care of all your expenses incurred, I would hope and trust that the organization in which you're gainfully employed with,
I'm not employed.
If you are employed, we'll take care of that. Or if you're, if you are an entrepreneur, obviously that's something you can also write off for your taxes. But the point is, it's outstanding professional growth and development, not only during these meetings, but certainly at conferences. And so I hope you'll have a conversation with whoever. If you report to someone, let them know about our organization and your involvement, so that they will always understand and support your attendance at future meetings.
So,
as an additional note, Madam President, for
yes,
those
ma'am.
of you who are from other organizations, certainly the value that Ncebc brings, if your organization would like to sponsor other conference attendees, certainly they are always welcome.
Exactly. Yeah. So Monroe brings up a point. She said, I'm not employed, and there's probably 50% of the people that are on the board are unemployed. And so we're very conscientious of that. I'm unemployed. So we're very conscientious of folks that are not working, either because they're in retirement status, which consists of a lot of us, or we just don't want to work. And so, you know, we're very conscientious of that, and we're very aware of that. And so there are just some things that you may not be able to do as we go through the year, but the convention is like a must. The convention is where we will. Okay, I know. I just want to go back to this convention again, because it is a must. All of us in this room sit on the convention committee with Shania.
We don't want you to attend. We really expect all board members to be in
everybody
attendance.
is there.
And to make that a huge priority.
I'm already, I got a year off here.
No, I'm not speaking to individuals. We're just
You've
speaking
been
in
working
general
so hard
context.
before that.
Before
It's
that.
gonna run away.
There will be times when you won't. I've missed a convention, once. So there will be times when you will miss a convention, but at the convention, we have 2 board meetings. They're considered our annual board meetings. you will be working. When I left convention last year, I couldn't wait to get home just to get off my feet for a couple of days. It is a lot of work because we are hosting, 500, 600 people. And we cannot put that all on Shania and Diana. We will not. Yeah. So everybody works. You work Shania can talk more about that, but everybody works during the convention. You will be doing something. That's the best. We have fun. We will have fun. The board does have fun together. We're a typical board. At the end of the day, we do get together. We do go to the bar. I have to tell you that. It's right up your alley, huh? Yeah, and we do have fun. We laugh. We're so tired at the end of the day. We can't do nothing but we get it. So we do have fun, but it is a time that we want to make sure that we are protecting our director and our first vice, who has to do just about make sure things are moving. And Lynette, I should say that because she works at convention also. So there's just a lot of questions. There's a lot of things that go on at that convention. It's a typical, I know you know that from NEA and your work. It's a typical convention. And people just come from all over, and we are on our best behavior doing that because we want people to come back. So I just wanted to say that. I don't know if you want to say anything else about convention while I'm on that.
Well, I'm glad everybody sitting here will be on the committee. You are on the committee. What I'll do is share with you the preliminary agenda for the 4 days of the conference, which is turning out to be 5, really. And we can talk separately about what area really is your area. Of course, yours goes without saying. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that's all you do. So we have the content of the agenda, then we have the logistics of the agenda, then we have who does what on the day when the first person checks into the hotel. So there are a lot of balls in the air, but at least thanks to Diana's pushing, we have a full agenda from Tuesday to Saturday. But we have all the superstars that we need, not only here, some of the board members that are not here, but I think it would be a refreshing type of conference for people who don't expect something that big from us, because we're a small organization compared to so many others that are out there. And I know because I used to be on the other side of this as a sponsor. We're definitely very small, 2-woman show pretty much. But I think we're gonna make this what not only the East Coast, which I love dearly. I paid mortgage in the Midwest, like you paid mortgage in Chicago, but Indiana is home. So for me, the East Coast is home, and we're gonna blow this up like anything that we have yet done. But this is the 30th year anniversary, so that has to be big. Baltimore City is recuperating. That has to be big. There's so many reasons why we have all these blessings sitting in here and moving forward in the next couple of months.
I'm just thinking.
Go ahead.
No, I'm actually thinking this is positive and negative. With what's happened, what's transpired in Baltimore. I don't know. I'm not sure when the trial starts. I want to say the trial's going to start maybe in October. And depending on what happens with that trial, Baltimore City could be on fire.
Yeah, well, we're not gonna ask for a break any time in April. We're gonna ask them.
I moved the verdict to like May 31st.
FYI, that's something to be considered.
But just as we stood in the fire in terms of our Indianapolis conference with Governor Pence and his statements regarding same-sex marriage and those issues, we stand with the folks of Baltimore. We're committed to being there. Right. Our contracts are signed. We will honor those, and we will be there. And we will stand with the people of Baltimore and Maryland. And
let me interject this as well. As I was just listening to Shania and Pam, as well as Diana speak in reference to the conference, I just lit up with excitement knowing that we've got a solid foundation of our great founders of our organization there to continue to guide and provide their wisdom. But we also have just unbelievable amount of experience right in that corner back there. Lynette, she serves as the office administrator. She has a degree in, what's your degree on that?
Tourism
Lynette?
convention and
Said
event.
it again?
Tourism convention and event management.
Okay, so she has a college degree in that, and Diana has just tremendous experience. So if you're, if you're assigned to a committee and other committees, and you're not sure what you need to do, you can always tap into Diana, Pam, or Shania. Pam, as having been a superintendent and having served as president of the California Superintendents Leadership Association for many years. They put on a lot of conferences. Shania has helped to coordinate many conferences. So we're fortunate to have a wealth of experience and resources right there in that corner. Not factoring in the value that you bring to this whole organization. So we're excited. We're encouraged.
So with that, so let me just, I said that all of you were on the convention committee, and you all are. So I have your names down here. In addition to that, we have something called program committee. And on that program committee is our Black Male Action Plan. And our second vice president, who is Nehemiah Thomas, who could not be here today because he's working. In addition to that, Monroe, you are also on that committee along with Ken Phelps, who is a board member that's new board member that's on his way here. So both of you are on that. Nicole, you are on communication committee in addition to the convention committee. Right. And on the head of the finance committee is Charles. He's our treasurer, and he's on the finance committee. So if you have an interest in that, and I had a great interest in that, and still will be monitoring that. If you're interested in participating, you pointed it to Nicole, huh? Yes, if you're interested in serving on the finance committee, Monroe, whose effort is to really raise money for the organization. I mean, to go out and look at those sponsors and raise money. And I will tell you, working on the finance committee was a thrill because we didn't have to meet all the time. You know, do we have the money? No, don't we? So it's, right. So it's a good committee to serve on if that's where you want to serve.
I definitely want to work with.
Okay, I'll put you in. Sure.
If you're not technically on the committee, but you sort of have a gift for begging for
you should
yes,
be on that committee.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
You could be on the committee.
Can I just beg and then just refer to who
Call
I
me,
beg?
Call me, call other committee members.
So
we welcome all ideas.
You want to be on that committee, or you just want to beg for the committee?
I want to beg for the committee. Okay. I just want to beg for the committee.
You don't want no conference calls, huh?
I'm gonna start begging.
We'll put a nobody as a key player.
So these are the committees, so that you will know in case there's a committee that you might want to have an interest in. There is the communication committee, the finance committee, the legislative committee. Harry, you might have an interest in that. The membership committee, nominating committee, program committee, which everybody in this room, program committee. And those are the committees. All the other committees are like the executive committee, and those are your officers, and the bylaws and the ethics committees, and that is our founding members. That's them. That's their committee. They have the information. And I didn't mention the nominating committee because what I've learned from Diana is those people that serve on the nominating committee really ought to be members of the board who have been on the board for a long time. For example, Harry Eltoni is on the nominating committee. So is there a committee that I named that you thought you might want to serve on besides the ones I already graciously put you on, Robert Murphy? Is there a second one?
I would be interested in a program. I don't think you said that.
That's fabulous.
Where are you at, Rob? What are you working on? convention and the
The
program.
convention, that was the only thing I heard.
Yeah.
So Shania's like,
Absolutely, that's
yeah.
all we heard. What else is there?
Shania's like, period.
Carrie, any other one?
Besides the convention?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Legislative program.
He said he didn't hear his name.
Definitely legislative. since you-
Plug him in so he can hear his name a couple times.
I would say legislative as well for me.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, state.
I feel
Right.
the
Yeah,
policy.
yeah, policy.
Yeah.
Great.
Man, while you're recording that, I want to underscore a statement mentioned by Bill. You two gentlemen and Nicole work in organizations where you have other colleagues who maybe work hand in hand with you, who maybe indirectly or directly report to you or not. Tell them about the conference, encourage them. I make it a point at a strategic time of one of our superintendent's cabinet meeting to disseminate the brochure, and then I get specific and I say, we need to support this. It's outstanding professional growth and development, and get with me to let me know how many of your folks plan to attend. I don't say, hopefully you will be able to get some folks. I said, get with me to let me know
How many are coming?
what your number will be. And that way they know in a more, I guess, certain direct way that I expect them to support this event. And we get that, when you have that kind of authority in your respective positions, use it, encourage them. And when they come to our conference, they will appreciate the fact that they were invited because it's just that powerful.
Right. Thank you. I agree.
Specific, I mean, as I'm thinking about the conference, and particularly the African American male action plans, I am responsible for developing our state's disproportionality model. And so my thoughts are hopefully that this will go before our state board sometime, maybe January, February, maybe even March. It could even be April, God knows. But the thought is our regulations that we got passed say very specifically around student discipline, that if you have disproportionality going on, you've got 1 year to identify and 3 years after that to eliminate it. So you essentially got 4 years. People will be looking for strategies, programming, et cetera, so they won't be on the state's list after 4 years. So I'm thinking that this is certainly a way to, at least in Maryland, to market it, specifically because I was responsible for all of the regulations.
We got a whole day on that. Bless your heart.
I was thinking, because it's Maryland, I mean, we have Freedom Urbanski over at UNBC. He could be someone that we can identify. We have the new president of Howard University. We just got inaugurated last year. We have
Franklin's his name?
Freeman.
Freeman
From Howard.
Oh, Franklin, president.
And then we have the fairly new president over at Maryland University, who's very much supportive of diversity in Black students. So those could be individuals that we could tap into to not only attend, but also offer some kind of support.
I will give you a study that we have downstairs that Ncebc did in conjunction with NAACP and the Urban League here in the city. We did it in every high school, looking at just that big question mark. Dr. Ray Winbush was at Morgan.
Yeah.
Ray did the actual write-up of the research part of it. I'll give you a copy of what Ray did, what we all did. And that started the whole questioning on graduation rates. Once we had done that study, it was about a year study. I'll be glad to share it with you.
I don't know how what the advertising. I'll talk to Al Tony about it, but I mean we beyond Maryland, but everybody is trying to figure out what to do to respond to all the changes around school discipline across the country. I mean,
Every state's doing that.
Everybody's doing something for the state, local. So I don't know what they've done in the past. I'll check with them. But I mean, you know, locals come to us about where they can go, looking for strategies. Yeah, he was. I think he's off now. But I think I know we can go through our caucus structure, right? And that's a national structure in terms of promotion. We can go through the local structure, the local leaders. Here's an opportunity for you to pick up information, knowledge, strategy on addressing some of the challenges in your school district. So so I would imagine at least in the 4 or 5 state area, you could have people come because the locals can, if depending on the size.
This is still on disproportionality or?
Well, just generally.
Yes, the
conference, I think what's happening, right, is the disproportionality is the disparate impacts of school discipline is the bright, shiny object.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is actually a bigger, bigger issue.
Right.
If that's the shiny problem that people have actually trained their eye to the last 2 years because of all the awareness around it.
We have that in here, and also the major study that was done actually with all stakeholders throughout the state of California. And I would love to see.
Because we're trying to get our folks to focus a little bit. I mean, we want them they need to talk about why. Not
without
where
starting
we are.
from scratch, because some
Why.
states have done it and then they're really focused on that.
And that's the hard driver. And so anytime we can
Oh my God.
put our folks in a space where they may be able to talk to other people about how they are doing that or what they are doing, we're going to try to get, because that's the challenge. The challenge is, Robert, we've been working a little bit together, and but that is with the educators, both from classroom teachers all the way to the bus driver. That's the challenge. Is that
absolutely?
But I would actually suggest that. I agree with you in that the whole referral part is the teacher's issue. But my experience has been, and doing it all over the state, is that once I present the data to teachers, teachers are really like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was that bad. The issue for me is the administrators. Who are making the decisions to say goodbye. I'm not suggesting that there aren't teachers who aren't difficult. Please understand that. My experience still has been across the state of Maryland in 24 jurisdictions that, again, once teachers see kind of the impact, the data, teachers say, okay, give me some more tools, which is what I helped them, where I helped them. My experience with administrators has been much different because there's 2 different administrators. There's an old school who says, shut up and follow the rules. Right. And there's a new school that says, okay, maybe we need to understand a little bit more about the problem or what the kid may be dealing with, or even my staff may need. That's just been my experience in Maryland. It's two administrators.
What I'm trying to say is, real simply, is that I agree. But while folks they will focus in on what the tools are to deal with this problem, which in relation to the system is actually is small. There are bigger issues at play, and then when you try to talk about why it's happening, but whether it's an administrator, that's been our experience, whether it's the administrator, the teachers, the bus drivers, so any place we can put them in a place. That's all I'm saying. I want to push our folks into an environment in which they can hear how people talk about why, right, and how you frame those discussions, because that's the trouble that they're having. So we give them the tools.
We have a missing component there. We need to leverage this and build in with the parent summit the missing parent component, where we'd be asking for a district team, from each, and we make our parent summit Title I compliant, where if districts are actually going to go back and administrators, educators are going to face this, there needs to be some type of parent representation, so it becomes that focused stakeholder piece that the blueprint requires. So to design the parent summit along with the educator pieces, so we have the strands running, and then perhaps a concurrent piece where those district teams come back together, very much as they do with Black Action Plan.
There's never a panacea, but the conferences really help folks return to their respective localities with a additional resources to help them in those areas of greatest need, particularly in dealing with the African American male. Let me speak about the race just for a moment, a subject that's not often broached. I'm not sure the racial composition of your teams in your respective localities, but when you come to our conference, you see a lot of educators, you see classroom teachers, administrators, and it's a rainbow in terms of racial composition. It's not just all us. When I say in terms of African American, you see a lot of Caucasians coming there looking, seeking ways by which they can impact their young folks. Okay, because that's who they're.
Well, demographically, it seems as though there are more. And I know in Montgomery County, the majority of the teachers in Montgomery County don't look like me. Right. Okay. But they're teaching our children and the Latino children. So therefore, as we go forward with this convention, not only reaching out to those who look like us, but we need to reach out to those who are actually in that classroom teaching our children and giving them the tools we want them to have that we found that would be useful.
And they're thirsty for
and our children.
Over the years, our conventions have certainly changed. We find that on an average, 65% of those who come to the convention are from outside of the city where it's being held. And we did a 5-year look at that yesterday, looking at the percentages of where they come from. And so we also looked as much as we could, but we don't track that as race. And I would say anywhere from 35 to 40% are Caucasians.
There's a trajectory. It's changing. There's more and more people Caucasian race attending our conferences.
The other piece of that, in the research I'll give you that Ray wrote for us, the question of why Ray dealt with in the research piece he did on the study that we did here. And that question of why took you back to race and racism. And we don't want to talk about the R word, but you cannot avoid that. And so you have to talk about it. If you don't talk about it, you're not being true to the students if you don't bring it up. So in the issue of race and racism, 10 cities met in New Orleans in August. And these 10 cities that met were predominantly east of the Rockies. These were Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, Little Rock, Arkansas, Baltimore was there, New York, Atlanta, Tennessee had Nashville there, and Memphis. And one of the reasons that the 10 cities were called was due to looking at this whole issue of policy and governance, whose policies are driving education, who is governing the school boards. Then the second piece of that was looking at the restructuring of schools in urban areas, who is driving that restructuring of those schools. What does it look like? What are the policies out of those various corporate structures? Looking at public education. And the group there was in strong support of public education, strong support of it, and in opposition to the corporate model that was being driven. And then the third piece of that we looked at was the whole issue of equity. Equity and equitable conditions on education. Those three issues is driving these 10 cities. Ncebc will need to take a position on where the organization stands in terms of if we are an organization that has taken the same position as the NAACP, that we support public charters. And I'm not too sure what a public charter is, but that's the position that they have. The Urban League position is that they support all educational platforms. And their thing is that we support everything. We just want to make sure that the Black child is educated. We don't have any position that we've taken as a board. We have members of our board that have taken positions. One, Linda Garden-Hammond has taken a strong stand on some things. So when we begin to think about boards and what boards do and the philosophy behind why we act the way we act. We need to also be able to have some platforms that we can publicly stand up on that are I'm a strong supporter of public education. That's how I was raised and came through. That's where I taught, and that's who pays my retirement check. It's a state ISTA department.
Go ahead,
So I got to support public education or my check gets cut. I'm realistic about it. Some people are not. They don't think
It
it's their
ciphers
time.
off too much of neighborhood resources when they do these.
I don't disagree with you, and I'm actually a supporter of public education, and I'm being paid. I'm a state employee, so I'm being paid off the public. However, I recognize there's a train on the tracks, and that train is coming. And whether we agree or disagree with that train, that train's coming. And so for me, a more proactive response is to say, how do we prepare African American, white, everybody, how do we organize them so that they create charter schools that still have the best interests of kids at heart, so we can kind of mitigate or at least hold off the corporations? Again, I agree with public education, but I also know the writing on the wall. And I know that we don't have the sway and the stroke that we might have once had, regardless of what union you're a part of or whatever. So again, to me, it's about protecting the children. And if we have to protect the children by preparing people and again, organizing them in a way that allows them to form their own charters,
or have input,
significant input. Then I'm with that too. Because again, there's a train on the track and it's coming, whether we agree or don't agree.
Well, I do think we need to, and I think the other piece is we have to be very careful of not disenfranchising others, because we may have personal, positions. And so I think with the radio show in particular, we kind of looked at how we want to branch out this year. And I want one of the features to be on charter. Absolutely. Because I think that there are a portion of people choice. And I think me sitting as interim dean, I have to look at the big 30,000 foot picture because I'm working with charters. I can't, So I think we need to look at that. And I think Ncebc, we're in a very privileged position. My next question was going to be, do we have a position statement or a paper that talks about, and I'm willing to help author that, co-author that.
Actually, way before the conference, so that way
it needs to be, because it needs to be something that we talk about, and we have beautiful documents. I was upstairs in the office looking at just some of the previous work that our organization has done, but I do think with it being our 30th year anniversary, I think this is a very special time for us to come out with a strong position and saying that this is what we feel on these issues. And so I brought the idea forth. I'm very happy to help co-author and organize that, because I do think that with this being Baltimore and all these other hot topics, we could really come out there in a very big way.
So we've had a lot of good discussion on this last comment.
But Diana, with lunch, the document that was prepared for the community meeting here in Indianapolis, where charters were discussed and the other piece regarding governance, that might be an interesting just conversation starter.
You mean with the document on the commission?
No, not the document on the commission, but when we did the public meeting, where you talked about the history of education in Indiana and mentioned charter school government.
I think every Black community needs to definitely do that research on the history of educating Black children in your state. And when you do that history, you're going to see how laws have been invented and changed to keep Black children from being educated fully. And when you recognize the fact that this has been an orchestrated structure since Plessy versus Ferguson in 1896, when you look at the orchestrated structure of it, and you'll see over 100 some odd years of laws in place and policies in place from state departments, from the state legislators, from school districts to keep African American people from getting that education. Your philosophy would have to change. It has to change when you read that history, because you will see what is occurring now in the 10 cities that were invited is a repeat of what happened in 1896. We're going back to Plessy versus Ferguson. We're going back to separate but equal. And we're going back to looking at charter schools as being all black, but they're saying they're better for you. They're better for you. While you're looking at public schools, you're turning right. And when you look at the history of your city, you will find that pattern in place.
Well, it's the new housing pattern. I remember.
In the housing,
I remember
regentrification
20
and
years
there's
ago, I went to something called New Urbanism. And the new urbanism is where whites are moving back into cities. Like DC, Detroit, and now the schools that were once abandoned or closed down are now becoming white.
Right.
Renovated.
Yeah.
In DC, all the schools are now being renovated from the ground up. They call it renovated, but they're knocking them down and renovating.
There's something going on there, even with the black charters that started. And those forerunners of those charters that became good schools, and something happened that those schools are no longer in place. They're all gone. All black ownership of charter schools is gone in DC.
They found some kind of technical, one of them is some technical
Something's
issues.
wrong, so they let you have these schools
For a while.
for a while. Then
It's called
they
stewardship.
revert the dollars to
Stewardship.
another white organization, and then you end up with a school that you can no longer.
So here's the deal. So here's the deal that we're gonna, Monroe, so here's the deal that we're gonna do, okay? So there's a lot of interest in this on both sides, and we could spend hours having a discussion about this. So how about, because you're not the only ones, the other side of the coin, you know, our other board members have had discussions. So I think what I'll do is I'll have a special meeting of the board, because I can call special meetings, that deal specifically with this subject matter, that talk about our position. Diana has talked to me about this, and what is our position going to be. But this is a greater conversation for 35 board members, even if we write position papers, which might be a way that we may need to go, so that we're not on the phone for an hour. We begin to send research back and forth to each other. So I will pull that together sometime in October. We've got some other work to do, so I'll do it sometime in October. I'll work with Diana on it so that we are doing exactly what you're having this discussion with the greater board. And the second thing I just wanted to say before we go downstairs for lunch is Robert and I had a discussion about pulling state superintendents together, 10 in fact, state superintendents together, who are looking at this work in terms of disproportionate suspensions and expulsions. We've already done it in California. We only did it because the Office of Civil Rights came in and blasted us and threatened to take the little bit of money we had away from us. So we had to be expeditiously working on this, and we've seen great results. And I've already spoken to my state superintendent about getting involved with the notion that we would do this work and that we would then ask those state superintendents to send people to the conference. But I would tell you, we're doing that with CTA, which is California Teachers Association, in partnership with them. Because we can get the administrators, but it's the teachers. So we're hoping NEA will send out a blast to their chapters in the states to get their teachers here.
Well, CTA is, you know, the best of us.
Okay.
So they will.
That's the only good thing about California.
They will be able to do, they don't need us for that. CTA doesn't need us for anything.
No, not CTA, but whatever
comes out of it.
No, not CTA. We get CTA involved, but the other state, chapters of NEA. We need you to send those blasts out, just like we will need the state superintendent.
Well, we can do that.
So with that, let's go downstairs. We have a lovely buffet luncheon for you. That's that Dr. Coleman has.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman.
Has sponsored.
I'll send you a damn voice.
I'm going to ask you for your address. You say, what do you prefer?
As long as I'm doing a radio show. So
Per person, yeah.
That's what I have.
You cooked it from scratch.
That's right.
Take your stuff.
All of it.
Well, your phones and your things
The things that people like, things that can walk.
They don't care about this paper.
You can have legs, you don't want anything to have legs.
Okay.
So,
Everybody live here.
she's gonna put, I asked her to call me. And you know why she will definitely wants to be.
I can feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Cecil Roach.
So, you know, I like to explain. I see every day. I see it.
Right.
As researchers, I'm not a I've been working for
Yeah, would you give it? Okay. Plug it in that question. That's so much. Is that why you couldn't say this? So you have an
It's one thing for me to tell you.
Give it to them that first. Actually, yeah. I do I'm all for it.
It just validates what you've been told.
I'm so interested.
And they
So
get.
interested.
Registration, let's say if you're gonna send a minimum of 6, you get a discount. I mean, how does that work? Because I mean, that you may get 10 more.
We just encourage. Just encourage that because it'll be a good return on investment.
You said 10 or 12. So
Especially the big national. We just encourage you to be there.
I mean, it's encouraging.
I got it. So I said,
I saw that.
and I haven't heard from Yvette. I got she's not ready to stay.
Are you going to lock the store?
No, so she said to bring everything back. You can leave your paper.
And my computer.
Yes, everything.
I'm mobile. I have my office with me.
And until you would.
Girl, that radio show, we will get cracking
Yeah,
in
that's what it was.
October.
I told you I'm gonna call
In
them.
Australia, and the same thing. I'm doing it now.
Yep.
Fall of the mail.
Yeah.
Mine looks the same.
Exactly.
You know, it's
Yeah, exactly. Y'all let my
Oh, we're gonna
daughter,
lock the door?
she don't want nothing but food.
I'm not.
You just put it on and then walk.
This one does certain things, like it tells you, gives you a heart rate.
Is there someone back there?
That's what I thought you said. Was
Can they lock the door?
Oh, you said you put your mind. Okay.
Okay.
I guess I will take my computer with me.
Yeah. My brother.
Oh, you gave me that look like.
Is there someone who takes here?
Yeah,
That's
that's fine.
Robert.
I wanna take one.
Okay, thank
Don't
you.
you think they're gonna come?
I will, don't worry about it. You just show me what I'm doing.
See, you're right, Monroe. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, you take that?
Get my little menu out.
Okay, they can stay.
I have my computer downstairs. And we come back. Actually, like it's not. It has an app.
It does, but do they have a key? Do you have a key? That's the key.
Like put it on and
When you get it, you log into
Yeah.
the okay, right? You give
Because
them your vitals. You charge it. If you have any goals.
Okay.
Like I'm not on an exercise program, but I like to have a sense about because, you know, the way we work, well, because you sit at your desk.
Yeah, but that makes you conscientiously get up and start
And
moving.
you realize, you know, I've been sitting there for an hour, okay, 2 hours, like, at least just walk down the hall.
There you go.
Right, or,
Okay.
you know, and it
I
makes
like
you,
that.
it makes
Or
you.
it's picking up, I'm seeing more and more people with them on their wrist.
Well, so today, let me see if it'll show me. It's probably not all
this
the
is
way
programmed to
updated.
your phone too.
It's an app.
Oh,
So they
I
have
got
you can either do it on your.
Like
so
you can look at your phone or you can look at your.
I'm just gonna
the
show you on my laptop. There's a little plug that I stick into the USB thing. And then you,
It's just like a regular door.
Just lock it, okay.
and it, so on my laptop.
Check it on this side?
There's a
Okay, I'll come
little
find
thing
you
that
at 1
syncs
o'clock.
with it,
Yeah,
or with the app. As long as I'm on Wi-Fi, it will periodically sync.
Okay.
Okay.